don't drink what I drink. You don't smoke what I smoke. You don't think like I think. You don't joke like I joke.
What's up, gang? Everybody around the world. I've been around the world. I hope things are, I really hope things are going well for you. I hope there's good things happening in your life. And I appreciate you tuning in today to the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. So we're banging them out these days, aren't we? It's like another, it's been a couple of years, and someone pointed out that we're coming up on 5 years doing the show, that we're doing, like we did like a Wednesday, a Sunday, and a Wednesday show. It's Brian Mattson, what's up? Spikey, what's up? I didn't realize, Spikey, that you're tight with Will Romeo, who's an Incendiary Device now. Who knew? Weather's great, life's great. Okay. 5 years, that's right. One of my best friends, Astoria Lou, told me that last night. Coming up on 5. Good. Hey, Tim, man. What's happening, Tim? Good to see you. Wow, they're coming out of the woodwork. Joe Ramini down in Texas Silver Rush. What's happening? That said, you know who's co-hosting the show? I love when this guy co-hosts with me. It just, I don't have to carry the load so much. Here he is. You know him, you love him. Coming at us from New Hampshire, right? New Hampshire. Joe Augustin, what's up?
Hey, how are you, Drew?
How's New Hampshire, bro?
It's getting warmer finally, man. It was cold as shit for like months, but it's starting to get a little easier out there, man. Hello, everybody in the chat room.
Yo, shouting out Scott Helland from the Outpatients and School of Violence. Scott was in School of Violence too, right?
Oh, right on. Yeah.
And Scott's playing my wedding party. Scott played my engagement party, and he's playing my wedding party, you know?
Excellent.
Yeah. So
that's going to be a good one today, Drew.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, you know? I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, but honestly, I'm always looking forward to, doing this and getting together with people like yourself and people from around the world, you know, and doing the show. It's a true joy of my life to be able to be doing this for 5 years, and you know, not to sound corny, you know, but
No, I mean, you know,
and here you go. Case in point, Cliff Monk in Alaska. What's happening in Alaska,
Cliff.
brother?
Hey, brother.
You know, wow. Where in Alaska are you? Are you in Anchorage? You know, my wife said to me the other day, she's like, if you could go anywhere and like on a vacation and do something, what would you want to do? And I was like, you know, I like to fucking go to Alaska. She's like, Alaska? I'm like, I've always wanted to go to Alaska. What do you want me to tell you? You know, let's go to some other fucking shitty tourist place that I've been to touring about 10 times, and then I have no desire of ever setting foot back there again. You know? Anchorage, see? Got it. Anchorage. That said, speaking of Anchorage, Alaska, let's bring on Mr. Steven Messina. What's up? The hard push. And what is your connection to Anchorage, Alaska?
Nothing really. I like polar bears. I've never been to Anchorage. I've never been to Alaska.
Yeah, see? You will love Alaska, Drew. You know? Oh, yo, Lenonka, greetings to you both from the Czech Republic.
Wow.
Hello, dear.
Good to see you, man.
Hey, you know what was awesome? That we had one of our German friends actually at the show last week.
Yeah, that was kind of crazy. This guy's like, it's me from Berlin, and I'm one of your patrons. It's blah 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 blah, and I'm like, cool.
That was surreal, you know.
Hey, speaking of surreal, Chris Zinnel asks, "How's the eye, Steve?"
It's good. We're all good. I think I'm about 99% there now. Thank you so much.
This one's called.
The dead guy's eye.
Dead guy's eye.
Yeah, no, it's good. In fact,
You fucking died. I took your eye.
It's in my eyes. It's in my eyes.
It's in my. Did you get it? Does it look that way to me? In my.
You're missing the most obvious reference today, man. Eye for an eye.
Eye for an eye. Yeah.
There you go.
That's true.
All right, let's do this. We haven't done this. We haven't done this in a minute.
Yeah.
We're bringing it back. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, it is photo of the day. Wrong answers only, please. Let me find the shot that we want to use. Yeah, let's go with this one. Wrong answers only, please. This is photo of the day. Boom. There you go. Photo of the day. Wrong answers only. What do we got? Is it Trombone Shorty? What's that from?
I think he just saw him.
Bro, Kevin, are you not understand? Yo, is it Kiss Unmasked? Is it Leonard Skinner? Is it BTO? You ain't seen nothing yet. But baby, you just ain't seen nothing yet. I used to love. Yo, let me tell you something. Yo, how dare you use BTO's name? Yo, when I was coming up, I had a BTO 8-track, man. That thing, taking care of business every day. Fucking love BTO. Anyway, is it Frank Zappa? Is it Dave Matthews? Is it Billy Joel?
Yeah.
Is it Punk Rock Flurry? I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah, no, Pure Rock Fury.
Dave Matthews.
He knows who it is. Gregory knows who it is.
Let me tell you something about Dave Matthews. I know I haven't said much about Dave Matthews on this show. But let me tell you something about Dave Matthews. I fucking can't stand Dave Matthews. Like, I hate that shit. Like, Dave Matthews is like Billy Joel, Phil Collins, Dave Matthews, Styx, Fish.
Wow. Kind of shocked you don't like Fish because they kind of carry that torch of the dead and everything, don't they?
Don't you fucking stick up for Fish, bro. Don't do
Not
it.
for me, believe me.
Don't you do it. You know what? Let me tell you something. I saw the Grateful Dead in their heyday, not in their heyday, but I saw the Dead. You know, Fish just sucks. I didn't even want to. Anyway, I'm sorry. Not to deviate from the septum here, but here is another photo. Let's get right answers only, please. Cancel. Hold on. Right answers only, please. What band is this? Right answers only, please. Here we go. Is it Styx? Is it
I love the Les Paul bass look.
Yeah. Is it the Mighty Clutch? Is it Clutch? Is it Clutch? Was that Neil Fallon?
It is Clutch, absolutely.
Okay.
This is in fact, this is going back to 2006 at the Starland Ballroom, and it was Clutch and the Sword opened up for them. This was a great show. And
where was that?
Starland in Sayreville, New Jersey.
Right.
It's a long ride, but it was worth it. And I'm a huge Clutch fan, and they just crushed it. And this, this flavor, this show put this in my head. Like, I feel like they have that same kind of groove and swagger that we're kind of aiming at today, and they just one of the all-time great bands for sure.
I love this. I'm sorry, the technology's acting a little weird today, but we'll get through it. Clutch is worse than the Dave Matthews Band.
Wow. Wow, Ryan Miller, not a fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude's not having it. All right, here's another one. Here's a last shot. Dude, I don't know anything. What could be worse than the Dave Matthews Band? Like, seriously.
Fish.
Rusted Root.
Rusted Root?
All that shit.
I almost think that I don't think that Fish is as bad as the Dave Matthews Band.
That's all that hacky sack shit, hacky sacks and Petrulli and just terrible people.
Yeah.
That's all
Francis
it is.
Sawyer says Hootie? Oh, Hootie. As in Hootie. Oh. Thank you, Yo, she's right.
Wait, you love or hate Hootie more than Dave Matthews?
To me, they both equally reside in the cesspool of hatred in the back of my mind. It's just swirling mass of music that makes me want to do crimes and hurt people. And it's Hootie and the Blowfish. Oh God. Oh, you know who? Listen, I know we're going off here, but you know who gets thrown in there too? You know who gets thrown in that pool also? Who I hate? Counting Crows.
I could see them in the Hootie crowd. Yeah, that's in that same era.
Yo, fuck that dude, man.
I dated a girl once who was obsessed with them, and I took her to see Counting Crows at Rutgers. I think it was at Rutgers. It was the most excruciating experience of my life.
That's
my God.
Yeah.
All that stuff.
All right, I'm just looking at the comments. Okay, I'm glad we got. Listen, just trying to keep it light, kids, and have a couple laughs. What else going on, Steven?
Well, actually, you know what? I forgot to send you the flyer, but I'll just tell you. Saturday, March 22nd, Serial Poets are playing The Calling Bell in Huntington, and I'm pretty excited about that. I'll send the flyer. I'll post the flyer to you guys. And first Long Island show in a while, first electric show in a while. But we did just do The Calling Bell with My War.
Acoustic. So, we played acoustic.
Pretty excited.
Crash Test Dummies.
Remember that?
I don't know if I hate the Crash Test Dummies. I'm not sure.
I only know that one song.
Yeah, like that was like a weird gimmicky song. Like I don't possess an inherent hatred for them. Like it doesn't make me want to like Yeah.
So
Godsmack.
Dave Matthews.
Godsmack. Rappo said Godsmack. Yeah.
Yo,
All right.
Rat Bones.
Welcome to the show where we shit on other bands. Hope you're doing well around the world. Today we're gonna shit on a lot of bands. Listen, anybody who's out there that's doing it, God bless. All those bands, they've had their ups. They've worked hard to have, this is just entertainment, except for Billy Joel and Phil Collins.
Wow.
Those guys.
Well, Billy Joel's he's your Mount Everest of hate, I think.
Just before you go, you know what the funny story is about how we did a show and I was going off about Billy Joel. And the next morning we got up, me and Rochelle, and we drove out to the Hamptons for somebody let us stay at their house, whatever. So we go out there, we pull into this town in Sag Harbor, park the car. I get out of the car, I turn the corner, and there's Billy Joel. And I'm like, it was pretty fun. I felt like saying, bro, I just wanted to say something to him. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, I've been shitting on you on my show, but here you are. Like, hey, but I didn't.
Now, what do you do if you meet him and you really like him?
That's not going to happen, bro.
What if he saves you from like a burning building, throws you over his shoulder, and runs out?
Bro, I love Piano Man. Sing me a song. Yeah, the piano. Fuck you.
All right.
All right. I'm sorry.
Since we're shitting on bands, I'm going to throw one more out there.
Uh-oh.
If anybody in the chat room could explain Radiohead to me, I'd really appreciate it.
Radiohead?
I've been trying for 30 years. I just can't. I just can't.
Does anybody out there love Radiohead and in a couple words can explain to our friend and co-host for the day, Joel Gustin, why is Radiohead so great?
I'm at a loss. I don't
It
know.
happens, bro.
To each his own, I suppose.
Coldplay on caffeine. Okay.
You know who loves Coldplay? Freddie Madball.
Really?
Freddie and Toby are huge Coldplay fans.
Everybody's
That's a true story.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, computer. Like I don't hate on Radiohead. I actually like a couple of their records, but but it's okay.
I think they died after OK Computer, frankly. I think that was their last moment.
Radiohead are Radiohead is like the kind of band, like they come from that like we shit rabbit pellet kind. We shit rabbit pellets. Like we're so cool, like we shit rabbit pellets and like and all that. I'll tell you what, that's the fucking way I feel about the Beastie Boys too. So fuck you.
I don't know. Paul's Boutique was a great record for its
Paul's
time.
Boutique is great. Boutique is great. I'm not mad at Paul's Boutique. But I'm talking about some of that like later stuff. Like we're so cool. Whatever, man. What do I know? I'm just like a resentful old hardcore kid,
Let it out, Drew. Let it out.
Yeah. All right, enough. Steven, I'll see you in a bit.
You got it.
Have a good day.
Joe, see you in a bit.
Take care, man.
All right. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. What's happening? And we are hosted by the Texas Silver Rush, DTFM Vinyl Distro, Generation Records, Mad Vintage, and 126 Hardcore Clothing. They're a streetwear brand for restless individuals who don't compromise. They're about being positive, spontaneous, and true to yourself. For years, they experimented with several printing methods and materials and collaborated with a large number of designers and illustrators, always giving room for fresh perspectives while retaining the hardcore attitude. Get in touch with them, ramp up your game at www.126clothing.com. That said, let's clear the deck. Let's bring our guest on. Let's make sure nobody's killing each other in the chat room. Everybody seems okay. Here we go. Yo. Today's guest is a Swedish singer-songwriter. Today's guest is a Swedish singer-songwriter born in Montreal, Canada. Excuse me. He is best known for his work with the bands Corrosion of Conformity, Leadfoot, School of Violence, Patriarchs in Black, The Skull, King Hitter, Lie Heavy, Legions of Doom, and Seizure. Please welcome, coming at us from Chicago, Illinois, where we just played a show the other night, Mr. Karl Agell. Hey, man.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
Hey, get ready, man. You see what you're stepping into here?
I know. I'm gonna lead in with an uptown girl. No, I won't. I'm sorry.
He's the first one that like caught my wrath, you know.
No, I hear you, man.
That
I
hey,
hear you.
Jamie York, what's up, bro? Hope you're well, man. Haven't seen you.
Hey,
Hey, Jamie.
my buddy.
Good to see you, Jamie. Thanks for coming by. All your friends are coming out of the woodwork. Tracy Corbett, good.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
How's Chicago? Tell us what you were doing in Chicago.
I came out here to sing a show with a skull at Reggie's, which is just an awesome club in the South Side. Years ago, back a couple years back, a really tragic thing happened, and it was the passing of the mighty Eric Wagner, most famous for Trouble, and then the Skull. And I'm very close friends with Ron Holzner, the bassist, and he asked me, this was about 3 years ago, to come out and, hey, 9 months after Eric passed from catching COVID on tour. And incidentally, this band, my band Lie Heavy, was going to be our first show opening up in Raleigh for them, the Skull and the Obsessed. And they never made it. They got stuck in Texas, when COVID was raging. And Eric didn't make it out, And anyhow, 9 months after, they didn't know if they were going to carry on. And Ron reached out to me and said, hey, would you be into doing a memorial, a tribute show and singing his parts? And I was kind of shitting my pants saying, I'm so honored, but it's like some canoe-sized shoes to fill, And it was going to be in front of all the hardcore Chicago fans that love the band, and his four grown kids and ex-wife and girlfriend, and all these people. And I was like, oh, don't fuck this up, please.
Yeah.
There's a banner of him hanging up over the stage, basically, But it went so well, and it was handled right. So we said, hey, let's do another one, and then it ended up becoming this thing of where, I'm the singer for the Skull, and also a version of that called Legions of Doom, that with Scott Riegers from St. Vitus,
Sure.
Being a part of that. So I'm over explaining this, but that's the reason I'm here, is that this is one of my gigs and I love it. And I was out here doing a show, basically getting warmed up for a bunch of gigs this year,
And where do you currently reside?
I live in Durham, North Carolina. I've been there since I was in Raleigh at first, which is just down the street,
Sure.
They call it the Triangle. There's Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill. That's right. And I was in Raleigh, moved down there in '89 specifically to join Corrosion of Conformity. And when we parted company, I just, I fell in love with the state, and when I was finally kind of at home, I'd lived all over the world, actually, as a kid. And I was just like really happy to settle down there. And I've been there since '89. I love it. And that's where I'm out of it, in Durham. So
right on. I'm sure it's, I'm not sure, but it seems like a somewhat sort of, for a guy that's out on the road a lot and who's been around a lot, it seems like a calm place to live.
Yeah, you can retreat into just normal life there pretty easily. But but what's great is that there's enough of a great scene that's varied and cool.
Yeah.
And really kick-ass clubs, like the Cat's Cradle or, King's or Lincoln Theater or Poorhouse,
Sure.
There's, Pinhook, whatever, Motorco. So all these awesome venues. So there's always killer nationals and then locals, we're really lucky, man. And it's right there in the middle of the East Coast. So it's like a easy stop,
Yeah, got it. So let's bounce the ball back and forth a little bit. You mentioned moving around a lot growing up, but how did you come up? Did you grow up in a musical household? How did music come into your life?
I did. I was really fortunate that there was so much vinyl, so much music in the house. My mom was loved the Beatles and lots of, there's just tons of music and albums. And it really, when I was I guess 4 years old, I moved from Canada. My dad took us back to Sweden and then moved us to Hong Kong in 1971, a British colony, and went to an American school in a British colony in 71, it started.
Are you a Swedish citizen?
Yeah. Swedish and Canadian.
Swedish and Canadian. Got it. Okay.
Yeah. But I got dual, and then I have a green card.
Sure.
As well. But anyways, don't kick me out, please. So I
long. I can ramble on here, but there's always music around. And my dad bought this insane stereo system, in the 70s. It's like Hong Kong was like this duty-free shop basically, and I still have a bunch of the gear. I still have it. I still have the schematics for the old Sansui amp. I have the Akai reel-to-reel, the top-loading cassette deck.
Wow.
I have all this shit and all the vinyl from back then. I just remember as a kid that it's just this amazing stereo. And I would just get immersed in listening to this stuff. And there was always music, and we could put anything on at any time, and it was encouraged. And it was my older sisters played guitar, and did like little coffee houses. When she was I was the youngest. I was the baby boy, and I had two older sisters that really brought also their love of stuff into my life. And Charlotte, my oldest sister, turned me on to Zeppelin and the Doors, and like there's like Deep Purple and stuff like and all that stuff.
Sure.
And then Anna was the one who bought me my first punk rock, or she bought me the Clash album, the first Clash album, and Blondie, Parallel Lines, record, and then I got the bug, and I was fortunate enough. There was this kick-ass in the middle of Stanley Market, this sprawling market with headless chickens hanging and open. This sprawling Asian market, Hong Kong.
Sure.
Down in Stanley, there was this tucked in between all the stalls was this record store, and the guy had fucking everything. It was amazing. He had like punk and new wave and rock and roll, metal. Like it was just I couldn't believe it. So when I was old enough and had a little bit of money in my pocket, I'd go there and start collecting, and I was really lucky. The shitty part about being in Hong Kong was nobody toured through there, right?
Yeah.
The first live show I saw was the Osmond family. The fucking Osmonds came through.
Wow.
I was like, woo, and then so when my mom got remarried in 81, happened to be a Scottish guy who lived in Greenwich, Connecticut. She went to visit him and never left. And I got this letter. I was in Sweden for the summer in 81. I got this letter it's like, hey, I fallen in love with Frank, who I was visiting, and you're moving to Connecticut. You're not going back to Hong Kong. I was like, oh, okay. But my mom had been through so much shit, and I was just happy for her. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
That sort of answer, because I got all this, and then I know we're moving our way to sort of Seizure and Connecticut, and I'm like, how the hell did he end up in Connecticut? I was thinking, but let me ask you, what I mean, maybe this was
Connecticut?
This was before the move. But what was the first music that spoke to you that you felt like this is my stuff? Like this isn't like
It was a huge mixture of shit, man. Like I remember just being you're gonna laugh, but my parents had a German pressing of Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh hell
and I was like a little kid, and I was like listening to it, and I was like, wow. It wasn't just because I was having some, spiritual experience necessarily, you know what I mean? But just as like the performances, and it's a fucking raging rock record, like Yvonne Elliman, of course, Ian Gillan, and then the unsung hero of that whole album is Murray Head of Judas singing, like giving these vocal performances where he's like ripping himself apart. And I was just like blown away and drawn into it. And, I remember buying I won a Sweet album, on the AM radio station, and fucking, Give Us a Wink, and like all this shit, so all these things, and so it's just, I started I don't know, I was just drawn in by all this music around me, and listening to it. And I didn't necessarily know that I was going to be a singer at the time. I played alto sax in chamber ensemble and jazz ensemble.
Wow.
And I also played the fuck out of my, when I was 10 years old, my great aunt gave me a Hohner harmonica, and I was like ripping at a harmonica too, man, in the early days, and then which I've never done live actually since.
Have you played any sax or anything since, or was it something you put down as a kid and never sort of returned to it?
What it was is, so we moved to Greenwich, and I was this total 15-year-old rocker kid into all this stuff. I was the turd in the punch bowl. This was the height of preppy. I was immersed in this everybody was Biff and Chipper and fucking their goddamn loafers and their docksiders and their fucking eyes of Lacoste shit with the collars up, and luckily I was put into this Catholic school first, St. Mary's High School, where all the degenerates were. And I met some friends, and we were all like, we discovered that there was this raging punk rock hardcore club called the Anthrax Gallery going in fucking Stamford, like minutes, up the street from us. And that's where we found community instantly, like, we're just like, fuck, we can go be part of something. And, instead of fucking killing ourselves, we can, let our rage out and be a part of the scene. And that's where I got, ended up in '83 being asked to sing for Seizure. Jeff Coleman just approached me and said, "Hey, can you sing? Do you want to sing for our band?" And I was like, "Okay." That was what launched it.
I believe this is this the Stanford or late? I think this is Stanford, right?
Yeah,
Anthrax,
that's it.
That's Anthrax Stanford, right? The back.
Yeah,
of
that's
Anthrax.
that. Yeah, technically the Anthrax Gallery. Yeah, that's how you walk in. You'd walk in that door, and then they'd flip the lid. If you walk straight through, you'd end up in the gallery, like the art gallery. And there was like spoken word there. I saw like Rollins do spoken word there, and all kinds. Some guy from the Church of the Subgenius, was pissing on the floor. And it was just awesome, like crazy open art scene and supporting local people and bringing people through, that were traveling. And then downstairs was this, incredible club, and where they sold Jolt Cola in the back, and
that's right.
And then the stage was like, 4 inches tall, and then the PV columns, no monitors. It was awesome. And that's just every fucking band you can imagine in the scene came through. Every was always Friday night, 5 bands, Saturday night, 5 bands, $5 kind of thing, and you name it, any of the hardcore bands that and love or might not love, but anybody and everybody came through. It was like MDC, Black Flag. That's the first time I saw COC, and it was like, holy shit, this band is amazing.
Yeah.
So it was
incredible. And I remember, the Anthrax was like basically became sort of a stop if somebody was doing an East Coast tour, like a West Coast hardcore band. It was like you did like Anthrax and then CBs,
exactly.
You did like Jersey, CBs, Anthrax, or then Pogos or what
exactly.
whatever, or whatever. But Anthrax really, I know early on it was an art gallery, but in the second incarnation, it really became somewhat of like a Norwalk, like a real kind of, in a certain regard, legit kind of tour stop, right?
Right, absolutely, and they kept it going for as long as they could, and I got to say, Sean Sheridan and Brian, the brothers, so many of us owe a debt to them. Yeah. That they made this happen and had the guts to stay open and
sure.
Basically that was an illegal club, basically in Stanford, but we got away with it. It was on the the shitty side of town and nobody gave a fuck,
Yeah.
So
and
it was just saved my life, So.
Yeah. Count Ralphus, our good friend and support, says first time I saw COC was at the Anthrax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah. And here's a shot of our friend Scott Helland playing with the Outpatients.
I was at that show. I was at that show.
Is that right?
And I remember even being blown away. And I've been friends with Scott ever since, man. And we played it, and he, I'll just jump ahead, but we were sharing a stage together in School of Violence for a while, man. It was just awesome. So
I was thinking about that, and I was going to ask you. Yes, Jeff Coleman says it saved my life too. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Me too. Let me jump in real quick.
Please.
Since we're talking Connecticut, I saw a comment from Chris about Connecticut being underrated. I wasn't there. I discovered a lot of this stuff after the fact, but through my digging, it's kind of amazing who came through Connecticut in those days. I guess on the top of the list, Moby came from that hardcore scene in Connecticut. Those of us from the New York area in the 90s, remember Coney Island High, the great club that was co-owned by, we knew her as Kitty Kowalski, but that's Lindsay Anderson from the Vatican Commandos.
Oh, yeah.
Classic Connecticut band. People like John Bomber are still around at shows, so there was a lot of interesting people in those days. Carl, how about you? You know, who are some of the characters that really come to mind for you from that era in those days?
Well, my band, Seizure, I mean, John Sex Bomb Coletti at that time, and Jeff Spaz Coleman. Maybe we shouldn't say those things now, but it was just I was just surrounded by. There you go. Holy shit! Yeah, look at that. That's in Bridgeport, I think.
I like the backdrop. It says the Almighty Seizure.
Yeah. Well, we had to do that. It was because there was a seizure in the UK that was giving us shit. And not like we were getting this, there was no like lawsuit pending that I know of, but it was they're like, we're doing the seizure, and then like, okay, we're the Almighty Seizure. I was like, fuck
yeah. We're right. Sure, that's great.
Yeah. So no, I mean, there was just so many great people, like in all the bands, and we were so simpatico with the New York hardcore scene and the Jersey hardcore scene, and everybody was coming and going through there. All the guys in like Adrenaline OD and Bedlam, and do you remember Mental Abuse, Sid Sludge?
Sure.
Yeah. No, people like that it was just so great. There's all these, I can name all these guys and bands, and then obviously the kids. There's so many great friends in the scene that was such a family, and it sounds so cheesy and so corny, but it really was. That's the places. If you went down, on the floor, you got picked up, and women were treated with respect, and it wasn't some shitty competitive thing, and there was like really no egos. It was a level playing field, and that's why it empowered me to be like the whole punk rock ethic, the hardcore ethic is anybody could do it. You know what I mean? My stage is your stage, and the public sphere is broken down, right? It's just like the audience and the band are the same thing. You know what I mean? Nobody is above anybody, and that place really reinforced that in me back in the day, man.
I get, and I think Joel, I think we can certainly relate to that. I mean, it's interesting that sort of that early DIY punk ethos that still exists today for young people with their house shows, and I mean, it really still exists. I know there's people, back in my day, get off my lawn, all that, but I see a little bit of what's going on with young people today, and young people have their own world and their own very similar, sort of the wave goes in and the wave goes out. It's all cyclical in nature, and I could the same things inspired me as a young person when I went to my first SSD Control show in 1981 at the Media Workshop in Boston. It was kids my age,
Right.
and it was like the message that I got was get up, get out, and make it happen, man. Just do it.
Yeah. That was it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great.
Jeff points out, and I think Jeff sent this to me, that this is the first Seizure gig in '83. The FU's Misguided, Violent Children, and Seizure. Do you remember? Do you remember anything from? Was this your first band and the first time on stage?
Well, technically, no. For actually, it's funny. It's bringing up a memory. For about 10 seconds, I tried to have a little band in Hong Kong where I played saxophone, and we called ourselves Ammon Re, like after the Egyptian sun god, thinking we were so damn cool.
That's
so
we're
cool. Like, we were like 12, and the only show we did is we set up on the top of this apartment building in Stanley Village where we lived, and played like a couple covers. I think I played some Jerry Rafferty, exactly. That's it. I probably played that like 20 times in a row. I was like, thank you, good night.
Yeah, right.
But no, that technically, so I'd be lying, but no, yes, Seizure was my first actual real band, and that was that day was it obviously it changed the way I saw things, and I was like, I want to keep doing this, and it was awesome. Like again, I keep saying family, but Seizure just meant everything to me, man.
And right out of the gate too. Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate.
FU's from Boston, Misguided from New York, Violent Children, which Ray Capo was in, right?
Yeah, Ray was in there.
And like right out of the gate, you're sort of part of this whole thing. That's exciting, man.
It was awesome. It was really, really fucking cool.
Let me see.
Yeah.
You know, he sent me some great stuff, and we'll just walk through some of it real quick.
Yeah,
I like the animated. I like this animated stuff. You
So
know?
that is a Brian Walsby, right? The famous Brian Walsby, who I'm friends with him, and in fact, the T-shirt I'm wearing right now is he did the Lie Heavy album cover. It's in reverse here, but that's a Walsby right here. And when we put it out ourselves, we use
that's the same artist.
Same artist, man.
Wow.
Yeah. But
wow.
he's been doing shit for everybody forever. You know, if you're in the scene, you know the hell fucking Brian Walsby is.
But that's incredible. What the 40 years later? That's
exactly.
That's really incredible. And here's, I guess this is sort of you and your droogs early on, right?
Yeah, that's right. Oh my God, there you go. That is awesome. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
very
and
cool.
Oh, is that right, Pat Baldwin? Walsby did Rock Together by 7 Seconds.
Yep. Yeah, no, exactly. He's done so many covers, EPs and covers, and he's evolved, and he's still out there. That's what he does.
There he is. Hey, Brian. Thanks for the shout out, Carl. I'm listening right now.
No, that's awesome. Hell yeah, Brian.
Hey, Brian, according Larry Kelly says, Brian's the guy. Brian's the guy I've been saying we should get on the show.
Larry Kelly, get him on the show.
Larry Kelly says, you know this guy. You should have him on the show. And I'm always like,
it'll be a great show because Brian was there, and he came out of and correct me if I'm wrong, but Oxnard, the Nardcore scene, back in the day, and then ended up moving to North Carolina, and was there for all of it, the emerging hardcore punk scene in Raleigh and the surrounding area, and that guy can tell you some stuff, man. He's been through it and knows so many people.
Brian, well, thank you, Brian. I'll reach out soon.
You need to.
Yeah. We'll reach out soon, buddy. And thank you. Thanks for watching.
And Brian, I have a ton of your shirts here. I love your art. I especially like the Melvins one that you did and the Germs one. Those are amazing pieces of art. So I'd love to see you on the show sometime for sure.
We'll make it happen.
He did a killer Red Cross one too that I picked up at Punk Rock Bowling when I saw them last year. So those are fucking awesome. Yeah.
These are the best guests to get on the show. When during the show we go, how about this guy? And then oh, he's in the chat room. Oh fuck, we got to get him on this.
That's awesome. Organic.
That happens. Thanks, Joel. Check is in the mail. Yeah. I like this fly. I got a kick out of this one because this one reeks. This one reeks Connecticut. Violent children, seizure, 76% uncertain. It's an Ethiopia benefit. At UConn.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I did one semester at UConn too.
Is that right?
Yeah. That was only there. I was kind of like stuck out there in the middle of the nowhere, in my opinion. And then I missed being Greenwich. The good thing about living there in that area was you could get on a train and be in New York City in like 30 minutes.
100%.
No disrespect to UConn, but there were some good shows. I helped get the Black Flag book there with Saccharine Trust and
Nick Heist.
Who else was on that? Yeah, it might have been actually. Yeah,
Saccharine. I think that was that tour. Flag, Saccharine Trust, and Nick Heist. Yeah,
84. Yeah.
And also, I love these CBGB strips, and I guess Seizure was coming down to, like you said, coming down to the city. But this is a great sort of moment in time here. You guys were playing, doing matinees, Agnostic Front, Absence of Malice, Half-Life, and Seizure. Could you give us any perspective on what it was like for you guys to come down to the big city and play these matinees?
Oh, we were treated really, really well, actually. Like the guys in AF, they Roger, and Vinny, they were just super cool to us. And there was this mutual respect. I mean, obviously, we weren't garnering the kind of attention they were, but, we ended up on a sampler, a compilation out of New Jersey too.
Was that? Yeah,
I'm sure-
somebody asked about that early on. What was the name of that?
I'm an idiot right now. Jeff Coleman,
Yeah.
please jump in. I
Yeah,
should
yeah.
know
So,
it.
somebody asked early on, and I didn't take the question. It was like, how'd you
Is
get
that
up
the
on?
Urinal Records comp?
Which one?
Urinal Records, which I think
Yes,
was
yes, yeah.
Memphis
It's Urinal
Records.
Records. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you end up on that?
You know what? My memory escapes me, but just from knowing everybody in Jersey and it just being such a tight scene with us, and I guess it's just the timing was right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our first thing I think we released actually was a song called "Jackie on the Corner," and that came out on a Mystic sampler. One of those, was it Doug Moody or
Yeah.
way back, and it was like 26 songs on each side of the vinyl. You know, like it was all these bands. The lyrics I sang were Jackie on the corner, got VD, Jackie on the corner. She gave it to me. Like I sang it like 9 times in a row. And it was us. John Coletti found the lyrics in a bathroom stall somewhere and then decided that was going to be one of our early songs there. So
John Coletti says the mental abuse crew got us on the comp.
thank you, John.
And I got to shout out. I got to take a moment here because are you out on the road? Mike DeJean says Carl rules. The blind lineup rules. Caught the infamous COC. You get CBGBs with the Icemen and a blind set decades later. Incredible. Reed Mullen forever. Are you out with Agnostic Front, Mike? I think Mike might be out with AF right now. I don't know if that tour started.
I was at Punk Rock Bowling last year and they played that. It was fucking awesome, of course. But I was walking down the hallway and there was this they had that movie that was screening, and I was going to go to some other thing, and there was Roger and Vinny. The Stigma were standing there. And I was like, "Hey, man, I don't know, man. Carl from Seizure's like, oh, Carl from fucking Seizure.
Oh, shit, yo!
Yeah, I know, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yo, remember that time at CB's that fucking jerk off?
Yeah, it was pretty much what happened. No, it was so fucking great. And then I saw him on less than a year ago out with Sepultura. Yeah, in Raleigh they came through, and it was awesome and hilarious at the same time. Stigma with his fucking, that was so cool.
Dejan. Okay, Mike. I guess Mike is TMing for Agnostic Front, and they're leaving Wednesday. So have a safe trip, Mike. We love you guys, and be careful out there.
Fuck yeah, man.
Here's another CBGB strip. These are I just love these, man. I love
awesome.
this stuff. Here's another one. I think this is I got to double check the date on this. I think it's 85 or 86. AOD Damage. It's got to be later because Seizure's moving up the ladder. Seizure's moving up the ladder. AOD
we're taking
Damage.
No prisoners.
Yeah, Seizure, Token Entry, and a band I'm not familiar with. Children in Adult Jails. But leave it to Joel. What's the deal?
All right, Children in Adult Jails were a band on Buy Our Records, AOD's label.
Yeah.
It was 2 young lady DJs from WFMU, Sue and Diane Kamikaze. Diane was the drummer. Diane did all the engineering for the Pat Duncan show way back then. She later became the sound woman for Mastodon. Very successful tattoo artist in Jersey. I speak to Diane every so often. She's been on my podcast. She's wonderful. And Children in Adult Jails. That was a Jersey band, kind of an FMU situation back then.
I did not know that. Who knew that Diane Kamikaze, the great DJ, was in that band? That's
and she got to open for Seizure.
That's right.
The best moment of her life.
Yeah.
I gotta tell her next time I talk to her. Hey, you open for Seizure? What was that like?
Yeah.
You know where I see Diane? Like clockwork. When we go to the Chiller Theater convention.
Yep.
She's connected with Kevin, who runs Chiller Theater. She's always there. She has it's like my semi-annual when me and Alago and Astoria Lou and we go to we love going to the Chiller Theater thing and just bugging out. And one of the friendly faces we always see is Diane, who's always there.
Yeah, she I think she took over doing sound for Pat Duncan from Tommy from Bedlam. Who's doing sound for a while. Then he moved on and she took over sound for a bunch of years for FMU.
Right.
And that was
now. Hold on, I'm just lining up something here. Could you give us any perspective, Carl, on the recording of this and the process, and just your kind of take looking back on it?
Well, I think it might have been kind of prescient.
Mhm.
You know, I think maybe you should put this out again right now. I don't know, but no. Anyways, yeah, that was what I hope John and Jeff correct me if I'm wrong, but it was 85.
Mhm.
I think we remember. I think we tracked it in. The studio was in Bridgeport. This guy had this studio there, and we kind of just burned through it really quick, 4 songs. And this is when the Seizure kind of started out with more of the humor angle. 86. Thank you, Jeff. You know, we started out as being more kind of funny and off the cuff, and I think it might have, and then it morphed into this more like angry thing. At least that might have been my influence,
Right.
my lyrics. You know, I was very influenced by, but no, and it wasn't like they were. You know, everybody was on the same team there in the band, but I was really into fucking Discharge and fucking Conflict, if you remember
Sure.
them.
Sure, of course.
And I got on the. You know, I was getting very much into the whole animal liberation thing, and you know the whole thing, you know, the whole kit and caboodle of that kind of English punk hardcore vibe thing, and that kind of spurred a lot of that for me too. And of course, there was a lot of fucking American bands like that too. Obviously, like Dead Kennedys and MDC and shit like that. You know, like that had that strong fucking angry message. You know.
Yeah.
And so that's what that was about. I actually made that. I'm the one who made that collage. That was old school. I did the cover. Yeah, I just clipped shit. You know, my family's a bunch of artists and painters and stuff, and it was just a bunch of fucking magazines around and stuff like that.
And I assume you did the back as well.
I did. Yeah, you can. Yeah. And that's Inca's Records right there. That was Joey Diaz, man.
Yeah.
Lost Generation, Dresden. Yeah, the mighty Joey Diaz from Bridgeport.
Inca's Records, and John would probably know this, but like, how many of these were printed up?
That I'm sitting on like about 50 of them right now.
Really?
Unplayed, untouched, in perfect condition, sealed, basically. I got them. Yeah,
You've got them since 1980, whatever.
6. Yeah. I got them, man.
You maniac.
It's my retirement fund, man. Come on.
Seriously, man. I mean, that's impressive, bro. I don't have anything from 1 week ago, much less. That's impressive that you, that's right, Uncle Vin. It's impressive in all the sort of, how do you say it? With all the bullets that have been flying in our lives since the 80s and all the incoming missiles that you still have that,
Well, here's the thing. I have fucking lost and fucked up on so many kick-ass posters and flyers. They probably melted and rotted or got eaten by rats somewhere. No, but the vinyl, for some reason, I was always so protective of, right? Wow. So including I still have like albums from, the 50s and 60s from my parents. And, the stat stuff, for some reason, I was like, very careful with, and always moved and stayed in good condition with me. That's awesome. But and maybe but I got a bunch of like rat eating T-shirts, basically.
Sure.
That about 50 pounds ago I could fit into them. So,
yeah. Here's another Seizure shot, I guess.
Oh yeah. And there you see John Manera. Rest in peace, John Manera, man. We lost him way too early, and it fucking sucks, man. He had some things happening to him, and it's just absolutely tragic that he's gone.
Yeah. Rest in peace, John.
Yeah.
I love this. He sent me this. I don't know what this is from, but I got a friggin' kick out of it. And I'm sorry we're doing so much Seizure. We're doing a deep dive into Seizure here, but
this is the Hardcore Chronicles after all, man. And listen, the reason it's important to talk about this for me and in my story is that it's the reason I'm even doing this.
Right.
I owe everything to Seizure in that sense. It's just like I wouldn't had Jeff Coleman not walked up to me and said, "Dude, you want to sing for the band?" Basically, however, maybe I'd be fucking doing something else. I'd be an accountant. Yeah. I don't fucking know. So.
I love this. He sent this to me. Best new wave band, Seizure. You guys were voted the best. Hey, what was this? What was this from? This is the best. You got you. That's honorable. Listen. Don't worry about the punk thing or the hardcore thing. But you were the best new wave band.
You know what? I just watched this clip. I think it was this early this morning. I was, rifling, watching some things, and it was a reel with Debbie Harry basically having a little talk with, and it's a bunch of kids dressed like punk rockers. And I don't know if you've seen this. I'd never seen it before. And these kids are shouting out these, obviously staged answers, like questions and shit. And then she was like explaining, well, New Wave was the nice name for punk rock because the record companies couldn't sell things. We were a punk band essentially, but if the New Wave thing, which they stole from French cinema, was a nice way to package this so people wouldn't be so scared of punk,
Yeah.
So, maybe we were a fucking New Wave band, man.
Yeah, Jeff says Vox Pop newspaper 1986.
Oh, fuck yeah. Wow.
Wow.
Thank you,
and there
Jeff.
was two vegetarians apparently in the band.
Yeah, I know, right?
Wasn't that cutting? Boy, that was cutting edge in 1986, man.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Joel, you got anything you want to jump in, or should we just continue to train?
Well, I'm looking to my right. I have a Seizure album here, but it's the Seriously Delirious record, which I know you didn't sing on. So there was a point where the Seizure kind of went forward, and Seizure went this way, you went that way.
Well, part of it too was me going to college. I went to UConn, and then was doing that, and then I went to the rest of my thing. I went to SUNY Purchase, which is right there, just due south of Connecticut. Purchase, New York, right next to White Plains, up the street from the city.
Yeah.
And Purchase was an awesome experience. It was art school and very open and no fucking frats allowed, which was fucking great. And anyway, so, but what I'm saying, I just kind of ended up on a different path. And I think, I don't really know how it happened. I feel like we parted amicably, but that's when I just, it was like my last year. I was a senior at Purchase, and that's when I joined School of Violence, and got that deal with Death Metal Blade, William Howell and Brian Slagle. But and I was within that band for exactly a year. I think what too is I was just looking to do more of I'd gotten really into from seeing bands like DRI and COC and all that stuff. I was just one of those kids in the scene. It's like, there's something here. I've always loved metal and hard rock and, rock and, so there was this thing where I wanted more, of the heavy and that thing that was entering in, and it was that exploring that crossover. I was a massive Motorhead fan, early Metallica, Slayer, all that shit. So that's where these scenes were merging. But, there's bands like Corrosion of Conformity that would take that power, but still write killer lyrics, man, Mike Dean lyrics, and just awesome. So I was kind of weaving my path through that and ended up at School of Violence. And
how did you end? So thank you for triggering the transition. How did you end up in School of Violence? Like, what were the guys? How did you guys cross paths, and how did this come to be?
I just heard through the grapevine they were looking through somebody, and all these scenes were intersectional. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can't remember the first exact conversation I had, but I was Brian Childers, rest in peace, was the singer before me. And he parted company with them, and they were looking for somebody. And I just heard through the grapevine they were looking for somebody. I also remember the Crumb Suckers were looking for somebody. I thought about them, and I was like, there was all these different bands, and I was like, but then it's a School of Violence was just a good fit for me at the time. And I was also, my vocal style changed pretty drastically in the sense that, towards the end of Seizure, I was getting more into that kind of guttural fucking thing, and you could hear that like songs like Guns for Everyone on the Connecticut Fun sampler and things. I was kind of exploring my inner Cal from Discharge meets Tom Warrior from Celtic/Celtic Frost, however you want to say that.
Yeah.
So, there's all these different mergers of that. Lemmy, all this stuff was just more into the throat thing.
Sure.
And that's what I was really pushing on that. And realized afterwards that I probably couldn't keep doing that because I would never be able to speak again. I kept saying like that.
I think it's safe to say, like, and I know this from when I was joined Antidote as a hardcore band, and other elements came in, and there was a lot of music coming in and out. There was a lot of new things happening, a lot of new bands being we're talking mid 80s, late 80s. There was such a palette of different things coming in, whether it's thrash stuff, metal stuff, right, Joel? I mean, it was a very vibrant time for music.
Yeah, the world was very small back then. Staying on School of Violence for a second. Fast forward a little bit, some people from New York, especially, remember the band Warrior Soul.
Oh yeah,
and, they had an interesting history with drummers because the original drummer was Paul Ferguson from Killing Joke. He left. They got Sammy from Gorilla Biscuits for a minute, and then they replaced Sammy with this guy Mark Evans, who was from School of Violence. Rest in peace.
Yeah, rest in peace.
I want to make sure Mark was mentioned because I always really loved his drumming style in Warrior Soul. And I think in many ways he's sometimes overlooked in the greater history. So I was wondering if you'd be in to talk a little bit about working with Mark for the time that you did in School of Violence.
It was, I got to tell you, he was the funniest guy. And he was a true fucking Cockney kind of East End kid with a really interesting story, He was a salt of the earth, no filter. Our practice space was in the music building right down the street from Show World, Port Authority on 8th Avenue, I think it was, and 42nd basically on the 12th floor. And we'd go up there and there was this full setup with this guy. He had, he was just a beast on drums. And part of the reason we had a full PA facing us, besides Steg's incredible guitar volume with 2 full stacks and 3 Marshall heads and shit, he played so hard and so well. And he came out of London. In fact, he was in this band that actually opened for Thin Lizzy when he was 16 years old. And he told me that story, and I was a huge Lizzy fan. I was like, oh my God. And then I think his original gig was with the new wave band called Sneakers from Florida, if you can look that up. And then ended up in New York, and
Sneakers from Florida. Hey, wait. Here's a tie-in. Wait a second. Alex Mitchell just chimed in and said Mark Evans is an awesome drummer and a great fucking guy. Al Mitchell, of course, sang in Circus of Power, and before that, he was in Crucial Truth. Is Sneakers from Florida the band that Gary Sunshine from Circus of Power was in? Is that right? Is that right, Alex? Oh, Screaming Sneakers. Right.
That was it. Sorry, I knew it was Sneakers. It's part of it.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That record's great. That Screaming Sneakers record is great.
Well, Generation Records. I think Yoshi just put it out on vinyl like a couple years ago on a limited run. He was a big fan. I think he just sort of tracked it down and put out so that's interesting. Yeah.
Mark was a stellar guy, and he was hysterical. I actually still have a bunch of pictures. Those I have of us. A weekend we spent. We opened up for the Mentors in Virginia Beach on one of our little tours, and stayed at the promoter. This guy, I think his name was Freddie or something. The promoter's house right near the beach. And I spent a weekend with Sicky Wife Beater and fucking and Al and fucking and they had this fun, love or hate the Mentors. I know it's controversial and shit. But as guys at the time, they were just a bunch of funny fucking dudes, man. And I have this photograph that I have to dig up, and I wish I just have to dig it up. I know I have it somewhere. It's us, the day after the show on the beach. And it's a beautiful sunny day at Virginia Beach, and it's El Duce wearing this, remember those white T-shirts that had bondage belts on them? It looked like, it was a bondage T-shirt. And it barely fits him, and his guts hanging out. He's wearing these skinny fucking jeans, and he's got his acorn out, of course, his dick. And he's pissing, holding a bottle of Jack Daniels. And there's a picture. There's Mark Evans in these wet white jockey, tighty whitey shorts and nothing else, leaning in with a can of tall boy Budweiser can, looking like he's catching the stream of piss, like at this angle. And I wanted to make a postcard saying, "Welcome to Virginia Beach." It was just I got to dig this up. It's a classic Mark, man. He didn't give a fuck.
Who was in School of Violence when you joined? What was the what?
Initially
who
was
in
the bassist was Rick Stone, and of course Steg Heinz, who's I still talk with a little bit. That album is just that album. We the People has just been reissued by Brutal Planets, putting it out. It's coming out again, so you can look for that. And actually, I got to mention something here when you're showing this album cover. And I know you know her, Davisha Dodone, and I were. That was my girlfriend for about 4 or 5 years there. And
is that right?
Yeah. So this is my collage skills combined with her skills. And she's this is early days Davisha stuff, and she's actually a great artist.
Wow. I did not know that. And
that's Davisha. And I know you know her. And I told her I was going on this thing a couple weeks ago.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So she's cool. And then oddly enough, she ended up moving down to fucking Durham, North Carolina, and
because she's a very well respected, successful makeup artist these days.
Oh,
in the film business, and I don't. She kind of got started in the film business when we were doing all the music videos back in the '90s, and that's when we were really. That's what kind of put her on track with it. So very happy for her success.
No, it's so cool. There's so many interconnected stories of all these cool people in various parts of the scene, and I'm glad to mention her there.
Paul Stone. The clocks went forward last night, bro. Welcome to everybody in the European continent who's tuning in an hour late today. but we're just getting going. Was Scott Helland in the band?
Yes, he joined. There were two different bassists actually. George Grant, and then Scott. Scott Helland was there. He was the third bassist I played with in the span of a year. And Scott's the shit. He's still the shit. Always was the shit.
Love that guy.
And his brother Viz actually joined the band too after me. Awesome dude. And we played some great shows together too. It's awesome. He's actually he can tell you he was at that Mentors Getaway weekend we had.
Yeah. Yep. That said, let's take a sponsor right here. Let me hear from Alex Mitchell. Steg was married to Agatha. That's right.
Agatha, of course.
Agatha, who lives in Joshua Tree now, who made amazing clothes for everyone from Slash to Brody. Yep. I mean, Agatha made.
And Steg's out there in California, I believe, still, and doing his thing with the motorcycle thing, man, and killing it.
Yeah. Yep. Great motorcycle builder, right?
Builder, exactly.
Yeah. Let's take a quick sponsor break, and we'll come back and we'll get into Corrosion and Leadfoot, so on and so forth. So we'll see you back in a minute, okay? Joel, I'll see you in a minute. All right. Yeah, of course. Agatha was very, very talented clothing maker. You just sent me the photos just now? Is that right? Hold on. Where'd you send them to me, bro? Oh, you texted him. Is that right? Did you text him to me? Or I'll deal with it. Let's excuse me. Now a word from our sponsors. Since 1992, Generation Records has been a mainstay of the New York metropolitan area music scene. Today, they offer a diverse selection of new and used rock, jazz, indie, hip-hop, punk, hardcore, metal, blues, soundtrack, and reggae LPs, as well as t-shirts, posters, and other merchandise. They buy used record collections and music memorabilia and will pay you top dollar for them. House calls made for large collections in the tri-state area. Call or email generationrecords@gmail.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram.
Will that be cash or in debt?
Do you mean debit?
Yes. Sorry. Another eternally satisfied customer.
Yo, what's happening? I'm out here at one of our all-ages Sunday matinees on the Bowery. I hope that you are enjoying today's show. I just want to let you know that the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live needs your support. Please step up. There is a Patreon page that has a lot of unique program. Shows are announced there first. Lots of good stuff. There's a PayPal address right there on the screen if you want to make a contribution. There's also a super chat function. You could do that. But the bottom line is this show exists because of your support. We're going to be doing it for a long, long time. Thank you for all your support through the years. Back to the show.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st century casualty. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Conditioned by misinformation, it's just the media telling us lies. Decipher fiction from the truth, society's slow and tragic demise. Open your eyes, you're losing control. Open your eyes, put down the phone. Everyone's got their fucking opinion.
And we're back. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Thank you, Al Mitchell. I appreciate you guys chiming in. Yeah. Al Mitchell, shouting out Al Mitchell's book, Finch and Leslie, just sent it to me. Got to give it a read. Al Mitchell, pick up his new book. That said, I want to mention some upcoming shows while we're at it before we bring our guests back. This Wednesday, just banging them out. This Wednesday, Dina Douglas will be on the show talking about her career as a photographer. Show will be co-hosted by Lori Dawn of Women of the Pit. A week after that, Kurt from DRI, speaking of thrash, will be on the show. A bit after that, Adam Blake from H2O, celebrating the 25th anniversary reissue of Faster Than the World. Sometimes there's like weird ebbs and flows to this show. And it seems like lately we have a bunch of photographers coming on. Sunday, March 30th, Dave Plastic, who took a lot of incredible stuff, from Randy Rhoads to Van Halen. And as you can see, he'll be on March 30th. This is announced. I know this isn't the one I couldn't show you recently, but Warren Lee, Beto, and J-Way of Nailed to the Cross, formerly 25 to Life, will be on the show Sunday, April 6th. Big score. Another photographer, Jay Blakesberg, will be on talking about his book, Punk, which was just recently sent to me as well. This is going to be a very interesting show. Jay has a very interesting history as a photographer. Kind of started out as like a photographer chasing the Grateful Dead around, and then got into a lot of other stuff. This is news. This hasn't been announced yet, but this is happening. If you remember, through the years, I've talked about the incredible archive of photos that was gifted to me by Greg Smith, 3,000 Negatives. Well, those have been put together in the book, London 77, The Lost Archive. The pre-sale is going up pretty soon, probably in a week or so. And the book is coming out probably in mid-May. There's going to be a bunch of book events. Cortex is distributing it in Europe. Generation Records is distributing it here in New York City. So Sunday, April 20th, Gregory Rudolph Smith will be on the show, celebrating the release of London 77, The Lost Archive. Edited by Ray Hogan. It's got some hometown cooking in it. And thank you. This is an incredible book. It's taken many years. Joel contributed to it as well. And it's finally, it's going to be available through Cortex. I'm not sure. I think that's as close to the UK as it's close to the UK is it's getting. So that has to be announced. We got Chris from Bulldoze, Chris Golis, coming on Wednesday, April 23rd. Oh, snap. How about this one? Stick this one in your pipe and smoke it. Chris Beatty Ex-Hatebreed, Blackened, Frostbite SOS is coming on the show Sunday, May 18th. I know there was just this was just all in the metal news that Chris just left Hatebreed. Well, he's coming on the show, and we'll be talking about it. So that said, what do you want me to tell you? It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. Let's bring on our co-host. Hey, thanks for being a part of that book, man. It's going down.
Yeah, I'm really excited, man.
Yeah.
I've been seeing samples for a long time now, and it just gets better and better every time I've seen it that you shared with me.
Yeah.
And it's going to be amazing, guys. Wait till you see this book. Not only is it just historically significant, but there are some cool stories and anecdotes put in there by tons of people.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those critical documents where, 20, 30 years from now, when people are discovering this whole thing, you're going to refer to this book.
These are some pages. They sent me a soft proof. You know what I mean? And I'll show you what I'm talking about. They send you like as it's at the printer, they send you what's known as a soft proof, which has all the pages of the book. And I laid a couple out. I mean, there's the cover and there's a couple of the spreads, and there's just some really incredible, Adam and the Ants from the 80s. There's Don Letts and Susie, and this has been going on a long time. We've talked about this on the show, but I was gifted 3,500 never before seen negatives from 1977 London by a very close family friend who, in fact, was my dad's cameraman and shot a lot of commercials. And then when Paris Mayhew and I started doing the music videos, Greg was our cameraman. Greg shot Onyx Slam. Greg shot Biohazard, Tales from the Hard Side, Run DMC, Typo. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. It's going down. That's right. The Radiators from Space, so on and so forth. That said, let's bring our guest back on. Hey, man. Hey, Carl.
Hey. What's up?
Hey, good. So sorry, I was going down a little rabbit hole with this book.
All good, man. I just sent you a couple pics. I was in that book called Matinee. Kids at the Bowery. Is
that right?
Yeah, I just sent him via messenger. I don't know if you could see him or pull him in.
That's you?
But, yeah. Back when I used to have a shaved head for a minute. The story on that is. When I look like that, I went back to visit friends and family in Sweden, and almost got beaten to death by at an amusement park called Gröna Lund in Sweden, a place I used to go to as a kid for like every one of my birthdays. And I was over there just being, a punk rock guy. A bunch of these, kids thought I was a fucking Nazi skinhead because that's what you look like. That was the uniform, the look in Sweden, but I wasn't. I wasn't coming at with that at all. Just like in the hardcore scene, and literally almost got murdered, chased by an angry mob, running through the amusement park, and finally found sanctuary in this bar where the cops came in. They'd locked the door and had to walk us, me and my buddies, out of the amusement park, and then walk the car out of the parking lot so the kids wouldn't flip it. There's this like tribal warfare back then. And that's the point in my life. Is like, I was like, you know what? I'm fucking growing my hair back. I'm growing my hair out, and I never stopped.
Yeah.
It just kept growing. I'm like, I'm taking the uniform off because if this is bullshit,
Wow, that's pretty incredible. I did not realize, Carl, that you were part of Drew Carolyn's book. I mean, that was a real moment of time.
Yeah.
Like captured, and it's incredible. All the characters that like, oh shit, that's and like I did not realize that you were part of that.
Yeah, it looked a little different, That's like 84 probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So let's sort of segue. School of Violence, the hand plays out. How did you end up in Corrosion? Walk us through that.
So I parted company with them, and then was in this band for about 4 months that didn't even have a name. With Victor Murgatroyd. I don't know if anybody knows him, and Troy Lush and some people. Anyways, and it was more like a totally was more of a rock and roll thing for sure. And they were influenced by like, cult electric kind of thing that was going on, and this whole thing that was taking over. And we never did a gig. It was basically just a fucking drinking team, hung out, and we were in talks with like Michael Lago wanted to sign us, Brian Koppelman.
Hello.
Ron
Hello.
Lafitte. Oh yeah, he liked me. Ron Lafitte.
There's one in every band.
yeah. Oh yeah. No, and we that didn't really work out, obviously. And I had the reason I'm bringing that up is because the bassist Victor, Vic Murtroy, his girlfriend, one of his many girlfriends, I think, but she was mutual friends with Reed, and she lived in Richmond, Virginia. And she confirmed a thing that I was going through. I used to get the Village Voice and look at the classifieds and shit. And I'm looking in the back, and it says Corrosion of Conformity, singer wanted, looking for a cross between HR, Ian Gillan, and Alice Cooper, or something like that. And I was like, okay, all right. Corrosion, I know them. I opened up for them. I'd seen them a bunch of times. And then I basically reached out via DN, who was still direct contact with Reed, and said, "Is this real? Is this a real thing?" And she said, "Yes, it is." And then fast tracked it with me talking to Reed, who had remembered me, because Reed at that time was just an amazing force. Like his ability to reach out to people back in the day.
Sure,
he was lucky because his parents had this office. And he could, back then when you had to make long distance calls and they cost like $1 million, via Ma Bell, right?
Sure.
He was able to have this unlimited ability to call people and talk and talk and talk and talk. There was a fax machine and shit. And anyhow, so Reed just knew everybody. So he fast tracked it, checked everything, and he remembered me, and he drove up to New York City with his girlfriend and the band manager, Karen Mason, at the time, and met me, and it turns out, Stevie McAllister of Damage and the Swans, front of house at CB's, the almighty Steve McAllister. Stevie, I knew him also, and he was their front of house guy and had been for a while. And it's just all of its kind of green stamp stuff. And we hung out, we went down to Little India, had dinner, and here we go. It's the cat just walked in.
Hi. I just wanted to say bye.
Hi.
Hey.
Meow.
Meow.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm staying at Ron and Carol's house, and that's Colleen. So she came by.
Okay.
Came by to pick up her car because yeah. But anyways,
thanks for being nice to our friend Colleen.
Yeah. No, she's very funny. Very funny. She sold merch for us at the show, but she does much other stuff. But there we go. Early days. So it got sanctioned, greenlit, and they sent me a demo that they had done. One of the songs became Buried on the Blind album. There's 2 other songs that were Technocracy era, but the one song Buried was new that they recorded, and they sent it to me and they said, "Hey, see what you can come up with for this." And I was like, okay. I jumped in my 77 Impala station wagon, brown station wagon, and drove down to North Carolina with my ideas in hand and auditioned. And I guess I knocked it out of the park. They're like, okay, you got the gig. It worked out really, really well.
Hey, maybe Joel, maybe you could get a little perspective. I didn't realize that Corrosion sort of had that much mojo at that moment. With I guess they with manager, front of house guy. I didn't realize that Corrosion really had that sort of that cachet at that moment.
Well, things were definitely changing. This was the time when I started reading a lot of skate magazines and metal magazines.
Exactly.
And suddenly you're seeing a lot of mixing of genres. The first time I heard of Agnostic Front was in a metal magazine, for example. So COC was kind of everywhere in those days. And I remember when you joined the band, Karl, it was still a 4-piece, right? And it was with Phil was on bass by the time you joined the band, right? Mike was already gone.
Yeah, Phil Phil had jumped in because Mike decided to part ways with the band, and they had stuff booked. And Simon Bob, it was the Technocracy lineup with Simon Bob from the Ugly Americans singing for the band, and then Phil jumped in, and so they kept doing some touring with him. And he had been in a bunch of local bands down in hardcore bands in the scene, and was friends with those guys, and then jumped in and took over. And just absolutely brilliant songwriter, and an incredible bassist. But yeah, he took it, and that was part of too what made COC transition, more from the cross, like the straight up, heavy grind to more of a musical kind of thing. He was the guy who really was, brought in a lot of like Sabbath and Deep Purple in a more of a pure sense, and some of that influence. I'm not, it was just it was an evolution of the band, and it was kind of like, it was interesting how we were received when I first joined, because at that point I decided I'm going to sing. I'm going to actually sing and not just kind of scream,
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with screaming, but, and it kind of discovered my way and kind of, found my voice, so to speak.
Could you,
and
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, finish up. I was going to ask you, could you give us some perspective on the recording of this record, the process at all?
I could write a book on that record recording alone. We were at Baby Monster on 14th.
Come on now. Woo!
Yeah, Baby Monster. We were in Baby Monster for 10 weeks.
Wow.
And had this back when bands got pretty huge budgets back then. We're signed to Relativity. We've been in talks with Caroline, but we went with Relativity. And our friends had jumped over, like Jackie Ferry, rest in peace. She was handling things for us. And we went in there, and Stevie McAllister brought us in because he was the front of house guy, but he was also one of the house engineers at Baby Monster. So he was the guy engineering it. And I could just tell you a lot of stories, man. We were trying to save money at first, right? So we stayed in Chelsea, man, in this complete fucked up welfare motel.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore, but you know what I mean? It was, I'm just saying that's what it was called back then. And it was just really, like, I swear to God, I roomed with Reed, and the door was made out of like cardboard. It was like, don't leave anything in this fucking room. No way. Don't leave anything in this room. So, and there was a triple that Woody, Pepper, and Phil stayed in. And the reason one night we went out, we had a break. We went out drinking and hanging out, and Phil got so wasted and ended up hitting one of those, deli Korean buffets in the middle of the night, hammered. And Woody could tell you the story. He woke up, Phil threw up on the floor, and Woody woke up to the rats fighting over the puke on the floor. And if you look on the inside picture of us is us hanging out in that room during the session. So we stayed there, I think, for about 3 weeks, and then we're like, okay, we got to get out of this place. We're saving money, but this is really messed up. So
and John Custer produced that record?
Yeah, John Custer. We had brought him in. He was a local guy from Cary, North Carolina, that was in the scene. And this originally he did this kind of mixed intro tape with all this stuff he merged together that we used as our walk-on music. That was just this completely bombastic thing that we came out to. And realized the guy was really adept, and engineering and producing and that kind of stuff, and had a lot of good ideas. So he was brought in to produce that, and we just took a chance on him, and it worked out very much in his favor as well. He went on to do a lot of other stuff, but I digress. So during the making of this is the behind scenes part. After that, we couldn't take it. I ended up moving in with Kevin Sharp. For a while, and that's when Jason Everman was his roommate, from Soundgarden. He ended up in Soundgarden, and then after that, I moved in with
that. Now that guy has an interesting story.
That
guy, I got to get that guy on. That guy. He was in a band with my cousin. He was in Old Lady Drivers. My cousin Alan Dubin was a singer for Old Lady Drivers, and then later Con 8 and Noah. But he was in the band with my cousin.
Oh, that's wow.
Yeah.
No, and then I know this name, Avzal from Crisis. I moved in with him, and he was roommates down in the Wall Street area, living down there in this crazy little apartment, the cool apartment that was tucked away down there. on Water Street. I remember that. And it was Stevie's place and Avzal's place. And they put me up for the rest of the time.
Is that Kevin Sharp or Brutal Truth?
Yes. Kevin Sharp, man. The almighty Kevin Sharp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin's awesome, man.
That makes sense now. Why, when I was posting about the show, he was liking every time I posted about this show, he like gave it a like or a heart or commented. I'm like, I guess he's a fan. I didn't realize there was like a real personal connection there.
Oh yeah, we're old friends, man. I love Kevin. He's the salt of the earth. He's just a total awesome dude, man.
While we're on this era,
Please,
if you don't mind, Carl, you've got to share at least one story about the legendary, infamous COC DRI tour.
Oh yeah, and then yes. Oh, okay, so the first, neither COC or DRI had ever gone to Europe, believe it or not. It was 1990. I was in the band, just been in the band for just about a year. I think just a year, and we were still performing all the Eye for an Eye, Animosity, Technocracy stuff, and a smattering of early Blind stuff. I think Buried and Dance may have appeared. I'm not sure yet at that time. And we got this tour that was booked. It was 39 shows in 13 countries. It was 1990. We both went over there. We shared a tour bus. I could also write a book with a chapter of every day on that tour. It was just mayhem. We shared this tour bus that was never the same after us. And we somehow lucked out that COC we got the hotel rooms and DRI and their crew would stay on the bus. I don't know how we lucked into that, but yeah, we went this raging tour from the UK on through Europe. I think we played like 9 shows in Holland, 11 in Germany, 4 in Italy.
Wow.
The UK. I don't even know. Like, I could take up 4 hours just talking about that tour, just like the mayhem, some killer shows, and then there's some pure behind the scenes anarchy of things going on. Like, Felix was in rare form back then, and I'm good friends with Felix, and he's still above ground, and he's an awesome dude. At that time, he was partying pretty hard, man, and he wanted to make sure that somebody was going to party with him. We pulled into town at say 10 in the morning, and he'd like put me in a headlock, drag me out of the tour bus bunk, say, "Come drink with me," I was like, "Okay, yes, sir." It was pretty wild, but yeah, some insane stuff ensued. I could tell. I don't know if I should tell this story, but how. Well, first off, we old tour buses, and probably still currently, you're not allowed to take a crap in them, right? Unless you're Dave Matthews and you dump it out, through a bridge. And then we tie back to the early conversation. But so of course you got a bunch of guys that are young guys in their 20s going bananas, and all this beer and everything else, and just going nuts. So of course somebody on these long commutes is going to have to use the bathroom, right? So we figured out if we could take a little like a plastic shopping bag, you could take a crap if you stuck it in the toilet, and then the trick was to pop the hatch on top of the bus and then wing it out, and then we'd watch it fly into traffic on the roads behind us. And then we realized when we were in Frankfurt, we pull up, and it's the first high-rise hotel we'd stayed in, and we go up to the 5th floor. I remember this, and I look down and look at the top of the bus for the first time from the window, and like 4 bags of shit have glued themselves and broken to the top of the roof of the bus. They were like stuck like flags in the wind. And Barry used to come up, the tour bus driver, who I don't know if he was ever going to be the same. Poor Barry, we broke that man. Poor Barry. He would come up and use our shower, right, as a courtesy, because we got the hotel room, and we're like, nobody let Barry look out the window. We drew the curtains, like, just usher him straight to the shower, or he's going to be so angry, so pissed off with us. But yeah. Anyhow, there were so many great shows, like so many moments.
Barry has PTSD now.
Oh no! Oh my God, dude, you have no idea. I can take it way further.
I got one. I got one too. I got one.
Please.
I could segue right there. So we're in the back of the bus. We're on I'm out with Biohazard, and we're sitting in the back of the lounge. Me and Evan Seinfeld, probably Danny, and all of a sudden Billy comes into the back lounge with crap on like a paper plate, right? Like he like he goes, "Who wants some?" Ooh. And we're like, get the fuck out of here, right? He opens the hatch of the bus and he's ready to and just in the moment where he's sort of like it's launching, we hit a bump, and so it hits the lip of the hatch. And basically goes flying all over the place in the back lounge. So yeah,
classic.
Classic. It's the same story. It's the faces have changed, but it's the same bunch of guys. And then it was like, you better clean this up. It was like some of it ended up like falling back into. And it was like. Hey, it was those were fun. Those were fun days,
Oh yeah. So I'll tell you the peak of this if you want to tie back into insane bus stories.
Sure.
If you got time for this. So we're playing in Copenhagen, and one thing with these buses in a lot of areas, you can't park a bus and diesel, run the engine and stuff, and keep things going unless you're kind of in a place where you're allowed to do that. And usually the red light district of some place. So we're in Copenhagen in their notorious red light district.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's up there? Did we lose Joel?
He'll come back.
Oh, he'll come back. And we're hanging out in the lounge and have some guests on the bus. I think some of the guys in the band were trying to make some time with some girls hanging out in the lounge in the back of the bus. And that's when the part of the bus that has the TV and the VCR at that time. We're sitting there and there's some random movie like Urban Cowboy or something on the, that's like we had two tapes. I think we had Urban Cowboy and Spinal Tap or something like that.
Right.
On the bus. That was it, right?
And that's a great one to have in the back of on the tour bus. That's like back then. That's every tour bus you'd go on had Spinal Tap.
Oh yeah. And they played CBs too, by the way, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah. We played the night before. As a matter of fact, when I was in the High and the Mighty, we played the day before. It was a matinee, and you hear the legendary Jerry Williams, the sound man, going,
"Oh yeah,
the High and the Mighty tomorrow." Spinal Tap. I have it's on when you get those board tapes from CDs,
Oh, that's man, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
So so we're hanging out in Copenhagen, right? And so I think that one of those movies is on, and Felix comes in, walks into the back, the back lounge there, stops the movie just quietly, and then puts another video in it and hits play. We're sitting there talking and looking. All of a sudden, we look over, and we realize there's a nun blowing a donkey.
Oh,
and then there's a guy sitting on a stool having sex with a pig, right? And we're like, what? And the women in the back of the bus stood up like just ran out. We're like, what are you doing? He had gone, and we obviously this was legal in Copenhagen, but he had bought some bestiality porn, and the tape was called Miss Piggy, and this tape came back to haunt us because it was just left on the bus. We dropped these guys off in Ghent, in Brussels, the last show that we played with them, and then we were going to go back on that tour bus and play another week in the UK by ourselves, club gigs. What happened was, everybody forgot about this video that was sitting, like it was in the pile of video cassettes. We take the Dover, the Calais to Dover ferry.
Sure.
So we were like, and we had gone through that bus with a fine-tooth comb, like make sure there's no weed, nothing bad, nothing naughty. We're just like, because the crew, the DRI crew, partied pretty hard. We're like, we're not going down for somebody else's stuff stuck in a bunk or like that. So we went through everything, but we forgot one thing, right? So we're going. We go through the customs with the bag, immigration's customs. They're looking through. We're all good. We're going back, and then we all get back in the bus like everything's cool. Then of course, the guy comes on the bus and he starts looking around, and then he picks up the Miss Piggy tape, shoves it in the VCR, hits play, and then he turns around and looks at us. He's like, "Mate, I don't know if you know this, but bestiality, hardcore pornography, completely illegal. I don't know how it's in America." Like that, and we're like, "Oh my God!" Like, "Oh my God, that's not my tape. That's not our tape. That's not our tape." And they freaked out. They impounded the bus.
Oh.
Basically arrested the bus driver because he was responsible, was on his turf. Poor Barry, who was already broken. And then, we had to figure out alternate transportation. It was over. And get, a van rental and leave from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just because of that tape. Wow.
No, I know. And it was like, it was hysterical, but just horrifying at the same time. Looking back, I can joke about it, but we're like, oh my God, Thank you, Felix. Thank you, Felix.
It's all fun and games till somebody starts humping a donkey.
Exactly.
That's right. Right. Poor Barry.
And just for the record, I do not sanction that.
Right.
But whatever. Please don't think I do. But
hey, it's on tour in Europe in the '90s. It was a different era. Here's a great shot. This is. Do you remember? This is the Limelight in New York City. Any perspective on this?
Yeah, that was open for Rollins Band, man, on the summer of '92.
Wow.
We that was a really epic kind of time for us. We went out with Testament and Iron Maiden opening up for them across the USA for 6 weeks, and then this tour came afterwards. It was a 5-week tour with Rollins Band. Andrew was still in the band. Amazing. So we had the supreme honor of opening for Rollins every night. That was really fun, man. And that was a great moment, man. They and that band too. It's like, they were unbelievable. It's so good, man. Yeah, that was a great tour. And in fact, one cool story from that summer.
Please.
We went through Nashville, of course, with Maiden, and then we went again with Rollins. I forget the name of the arena that we played in, but we invited Wayne Kramer up on stage, and he played Future Now with us because we had done a demo thing of that. So we had the almighty, legendary Wayne Kramer up there. There wasn't a single Iron Maiden fan that knew who he was, but we knew, and he came up and joined us, and it was just amazing. And then again, on that Rollins tour, we had Wayne Kramer up at the Cannery in Nashville, and then everybody, of course, knew who he was, and they should have, and they did, and that was just mind blowing. So,
Kevin Gartland says, I saw them open for Rollins Band at the Trocadero in Philly that same week.
That's right. Yeah.
And
wow.
Triv 108 says, please talk about Andrew Weiss on bass.
I think he speaks for himself playing the bass.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. That's a super, super nice guy. Obviously incredibly great, player. That was just such a cool thing, man. To be out with those guys. Go ahead. Yep.
I was going to say with Andrew, I did a record with Andrew and Randy from Lamb of God, the last Pigface record.
Another awesome guy. I shared time with Teenage Time Killers in 2015. So
yeah, totally. And Andrew's he shows up. We did a show in New York on the 2019 Pigface tour. Andrew shows up backstage, hadn't played in Pigface in over 20 years. Didn't know any of the songs and played for the entire 2-hour set.
Wow.
Just improvising. And not only did he improvise it, but he elevated the music.
Wow.
He was
an awesome guy. Awesome.
Yeah,
dude.
just so such a kind, nice, cool guy, no zero ego, just a wonderful dude.
Yeah, I still see Haskett. He's around. He's down in Australia now.
Wow.
Have you seen your hardcore trading card?
I did not know that existed.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Look at that. How much is that trading for? Like no pennies?
I don't know, but there's a back. Here's the back of it. The back is pretty cool, and he does his homework. I'll give him that. Check out the back. Boom. Says, look at all these bands: Seizure, School of Violence, Corrosion of Conformity, Loose Cannons, Leadfoot, Teenage Time Killers, Blind, King Hitter, Magma Rise, Patriarchs in Black, The Skull, Lie Heavy, Legions of Doom.
Wow. I think there's stuff I'd missed. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, right.
Well done, sir. Well done.
Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah. No, seriously, that is wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that said, just while we're here, I gotta say that Scott Helland, when I took the break, sent me this shot.
What do we got? That's that's me and Al and obviously Mark's ass. Thank you, Scott. I forgot about that picture.
Is that Scott in the background?
Yeah, that's Scott right
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
man.
Yeah. He
Oh.
sent that one, and he sent this one. You got to scan these, Scott. You know, you people with your pictures of pictures. This stuff's got to get scanned. Here's a scan, a shot
yeah.
that he took. Yeah.
This is in
Yep.
this is in Florida, where they I think in Miami, and we got up and they built us a school of violets.
School of Violets. Nice.
Yeah, I think we went on after the puppet show. You know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. We're We're School of Violets.
The School of Violets. Hello.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
That was a crazy week, man.
That
was a crazy week.
That's awesome. Well, thanks, Scott. And, no, it's fine. I appreciate you getting it to me. I'm just busting chops. But
Thank you. No, this is so cool, man.
yeah,
I hadn't seen that in a long time.
That's awesome. So, somebody else sent. Somebody said something great about. I knew Carl made it when I saw him on Beavis and Butthead. Was there a moment? Was there sort of a? I'm sure there was, but there must have been kind of a moment there where things were just kind of really nice, and being on Beavis and tour. Like in retrospect, I know, you know, we're heading towards the exit door of Corrosion, but was there a nice run there for you with Corrosion?
There was an amazing run. Yeah, absolutely. You know, like one of the like in 1990, also we went out for 6 weeks opening up for Soundgarden doing the Louder Than Love album, and
Wow.
Danzig doing Lucifuge 2, right?
Wow.
So we were out with those guys, and we were right caught between the middle of them. Danzig really liked us because we were old punk rock guys, so he had respect for us, you know.
Yeah.
And he was kind of the guy, and I don't mean that, you know, he didn't think much of Soundgarden, like you know, art art college kids, you know, kind of, you know, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know, that kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then we were such good friends with both, you know, such good friends. And then the Soundgarden guys are always like, "Ooh, scary band," you know, like, you know.
Right.
You know, I remember. I hope I'm not calling Kim Thale out, but he's like, "Oh, they should just put a banner of Casper the Friendly Ghost back there," and like, you know, it was like we were just laughing like in between the guys. We were treated so well. I'm coming out. The opening show was at the Santa Monica Civic Center. There was 6,000 people there, and it was the biggest pit I'd ever seen. 2 giant pits going.
Wow.
It was just insane, And I think we sold like $4,000 worth of merch that day. You know, like that's what's, you know, that skull. You know, Errol, who designed that skull, man. You know, the Corrosion thing. That was, I can't tell you how many tattoos and leather jackets I saw that on. But it's amazing. The Who's Who too. That was like the backstage was like the guys from Slayer were hanging out. The guys, Ian from Asbury from the Colts was backstage. Like it was just crazy. I'm like, what am I getting into? You know, like it was just this explosion of stuff. We did so well in California. I think 1/3 of all the Blind albums were sold in California. Like it was like, you know, we cross over, you know, what's just the state line. It was like next level. You know, KNAC was picking us up in limos, you know, and doing signing parties on the beach with a line a mile long, and it was just crazy. It blew my mind coming out of the scene, the punk scene, and I was like, uh-oh. Sure. So things were pretty sweet there for a while. There was a good run. The irony of the Beavis and Butthead thing is that hit and peaked as I had been parted company with the band as I was kicked out, you know, and it was kind of kept playing, and I was like, oh, great.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh, awesome. You know?
Yeah. What a life's cruel twists, you know?
Yeah, but you know, it is what it is. And I always thought it was so cool. Mike Judge, he actually really liked us, like me. You know, they panned everybody, but he was like, that dude is totally cool. He's totally, you know, awesome. You know, like they were loving on me, you know, like that video was made by H-Gun, Dance of the Dead.
Sure.
Here in Chicago, where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
And the reason we went with them is because they did like 9 Inch Nails, Head Like a Hole. They did Jesus Christ Pros for our friends in Soundgarden.
100%.
And they're like, yeah, you should use these guys.
H-Gun was hot shit. For like a year. They were on fire.
Well, we were hoping and no offense to them, I love them, but they kind of were like, we wanted more of like a crazy, blown up, weird indie, like, crazy thing. And it came a very kind of almost schmaltzy, the metal thing of me coming out of the hospital bed, and and then they had, I had to fly in early for that video shoot by myself because they had to do this makeup on me. So for this video, they shaved my chest and my stomach. I'm not hairless. So they shaved me and then created this whole fake front of me, and then they had me in this gurney and these like evil doctors ripping me apart, right? Dance of the Dead, and we shot it in this sanatorium. This had been abandoned tuberculosis sanatorium in Chicago. That was eerie. There was like dead cockroaches around still, like in this old hospital that they did that at. And so, anyways, it was really cool. But then, of course, MTV said that we couldn't have a depiction of it was too violent, so they clipped that scene. It was funny. And then for the Vote with a Bullet video, which I didn't sing that song. We did it. We did this video with Eric Meza, who had done stuff for Public Enemy. I believe that was him. He did the By the Time I Get to Arizona video, but they were kind of billing us as a white Public Enemy, like with all our kind of angry, hardcore punk vocals, but with a heavy sound. And that was shot in New York. And again, they decided to, because I had to play a character in the video because I wasn't actually singing. They did this whole kind of taxi driver spin, and they said, okay, we're going to shave your stomach and chest. I'm like, what, again? And they drew this giant COC skull on me, on my body, and it's like, oh man, everybody's going to ask me when I got the tat and want to see it. And I was like, please don't do this. And they did it. I was out on the road. They're like, oh, show us the stat. I'm like, I don't have it. It was just a drawing for the video. I was like ashamed, But anyways, I digress. But
no, that was those times, and I was a part of that. When doing all the music videos, through Stone Films NYC with different directors, including
like let's try this, let's try that.
It was I call it the golden age of music video, and it was like. You could do anything. You could let's light someone's ass on fire. It's just exactly. Like, and it was just, I worked on some of the wildest videos very early on, because before I had my production company, I was the stage manager on a film stage, and people would just come in with the most outlandish stuff, and it was a very fun, heady time. And we could call it the music biz. When music videos, it was like the Wild West. It was a lot of fun. There was not a lot of barriers, which came in place later.
Oh no! One of the things they did, just to talk about no barriers, right? So Vote with a Bullet, there's a whole scene that's where there's these pile of TVs and stuff. Yeah. And it's kind of this Elvis thing of shooting the TV, pissed off, with a politician on the TV and stuff, and. They actually, this one off-duty cop, or a cop that was hired to watch the video shoot, they convinced him to take his gun and actually discharge the gun in this old synagogue.
Wow!
And actually shoot the TV. It was pretty funny, man. I don't know if you can get away with that now, but what you reminded me of is when we did in sort of that era, in that kind of craziness, we did Onyx Slam. When we did Onyx Slam. The first take, which interestingly enough, the cameraman was Greg Smith, who gifted me the photos. So Greg Smith's behind the camera. First take, Onyx Slam, action, music starts, and they all pull out guns and start waving them in the lens, and everything. And we do a take with like 10 guys like waving guns and carrying on. Call cut. Greg gets off the camera. He pulls me and Paris aside. He goes, hey man, like this isn't gonna work. Like I'm like behind the camera with my eye in the lens, and they're waving guns into the lens. He's like, this isn't gonna. And so I had to say, listen, fellas. Yeah.
They're not gonna play it. What's the point? What's the point of even shooting it? It's not going to be played. MTV's not going to play. So that logic sort of that made sense. Anyway, I to use your term, I digress. But
I know.
I mean,
It's
so
good.
so I'm bouncing the ball back to you as far as like exit from COC. How did it play out? And
Well-
how did you move on to what's next? Your
Well, it
take.
was.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into anything and
Yeah.
like
However
over
you feel
detail.
appropriate.
No, well, we parted company. That's the easy way to say it, And Phil decided to quit, the bassist, and join me. Woody joined us too, and there was the original version of what was Loose Cannon that became Leadfoot. But we were somebody sent us. There was Loose Cannon Records threatened to sue us or something. It was a comedy reissue label, and said you could buy the name for $10,000. I'm like, what? No. So I can't. No, I can't do that. And so I party company with them, and we were actually talking to Mike Gitter, right? He was at Atlantic. We was in Atlantic at that time. Was talking about maybe signing us, but then, but Woody was like, and I understand. I have no beef with it at all. He was just like, look, I'm going to stay with COC, and I was like, you've been with that band forever, of course.
Yeah,
it's fine. But we came that close, and then ended up. We had Graham Fry, who I play with currently, in Lie Heavy, and he was on the first 2 Leadfoot albums, and we're actually doing a Leadfoot reunion show in April in Raleigh. So anyhow, we that version just kind of morphed into a couple things. We had John McClane on drums, who's from Ugly Americans, the drummer.
Yep.
And then ended up, just a awesome force of nature. And, Phil and Graham, and originally was Ryan on guitar. And we signed a Roadrunner, got a pretty good deal, and went out to LA to record, to Hollywood, a Grand Master recording with Alan Dixon. And like Tool's Undertow album had been done there. And, and we had this, producer. We were out there for, 6 weeks, and then mixed it at the Mouse House there, and had a pretty big launch. And then it was looking like it was going to go really, really well. But Leadfoot was kind of cursed somehow in the early days there. We got Motorhead's management, and they merged with Frank Sinatra's management, so they had insane clout, like insane.
Was that Singerman management?
Yeah, Singerman Entertainment. Yeah,
Singerman Entertainment.
And then we were gonna they had promised us. Okay, they gave Coal Chamber, that was their Roadrunner band. They gave Coal Chamber to Sharon Osbourne. Yeah. But she made a lot of promises. Okay, I'm going to get Leadfoot on the next Ozfest and all this. And we had fair warning, like one of the biggest booking agents in on the planet in Europe was taking us on, and everything was looking really, really, really good. Yeah. And the album had just been released in Europe only. Raver, like 5 stars, Kerrang, 5 stars, Rock Hard. Everybody was giving it like ace reviews. And it was definitely a digression from COC. It was just much more just a rock and roll thing, just like we're just going to do this thing and break free and have a whole different direction. And it was really well received, but just kind of like as a Christmas present, Roadrunner says, we're dropping the band. Monty Connor called me and said, yeah, they've Sace and them, they've decided we're not going to go in this rock and roll direction. And then so it never was released in the US properly. Initially, and then we lost management, we lost the booking agent, and then we lost band members. John and Brian were like, "Oh man, everything's falling apart." Had to restructure, but found amazing guys after that, and then put out an album in '99 through the Music Cartel, Eric LeMasters, and he reissued the Bring It On album and got it out there, so people could hear it and buy it, and that was pretty cool, man, and had a good run. Did a second album, Take a Look, in '99. Did a Sound of Music in Richmond, which was awesome. And did a bunch of touring. We did a 16 country tour for 9.5 weeks. We drove 15,300 miles across Leadfoot, and just things were going really well, but then we were scheduled to go to Europe with Raging Slab, a co-headlining gig where we'd flip dates.
Slab.
And I saw them at the Anthrax Gallery back in the day. They were on Buyer Records, so that first time, Taskmaster.
Elise.
Yeah, so I love those.
Elise on slide. She was a nasty slide guitar player.
Oh yeah, she was nasty in a lot of ways. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
She was. They were great. I love that band. That
I
band
did too.
That was a band that was sort of. That was a band that just. How do you say it? They were sort of like an anomaly. They didn't fit in. They were so great, and yet they just couldn't catch the wave. But they were fantastic.
They should have been on that wave, and
Yeah.
so we were booked. Anyways, so the day we were flying for this European tour that was the first show at the Paradiso in Amsterdam was sold out, like 1,300 tickets or something. It was going to be this incredible launch, and all right, we're killing it in Europe. That morning, 9/11, 2001. That morning, so I know everybody's got a story, right? And obviously, nothing happened to us other than complete ground stop. I got video. I just got this video camcorder that I was like going to shoot some video, and I actually videotaped. I think I got video of the second plane hitting the building. That's the insanity. And we're just like, our buddy came. We rented 22.5 acres next to RDU Airport. Oof. It was like the Leadfoot compound out in the middle of nowhere next to this airport. And it was just everything shut down. And it was like, what was it, 9 days? Nothing happened. Complete ground stop. And so, and the reason I'm telling you this, we rebooked. I'm on the phone with our booking guy and Slab, and I'm like, and I called KLM, Northwest KLM at that time, and they said, and the promoters and all that, they said, okay, we'll start the tour a week later, and you can start the tour in Göteborg, in Gothenburg, the second leg. And and KLM said, well, we'll give you a free flight because of what's happened. Right. So you fly into Amsterdam, and we'll give you a free flight to Sweden, the jumper flight in. We get over there and then realize that Raging Slab's not showing up. Oh. And Elise was like, I remember, I wish I saw the answer machine. She's like, we don't live across the street from a fucking airport like you guys, and they're killing us. They're killing Americans in the street. I'm like, we get over there, everybody's like on hands and knees being so cool and concerned. And it was like literally, we were just like, no, people are, you'll never find more love and sympathy right now over here, And we ended up doing like 4 shows in Sweden, and then I had to cancel the rest of the tour because the dates fell apart because the co-headlining thing. Some of the dates, especially they were headlining, where they were way stronger than us. Just all totally fell apart. The band went home. I stayed in Sweden, kind of drinking my sorrows away for about a month with staying in a friend's apartment, and ended up going back and again restructuring the whole tour, finding a new guitar player, and we signed with Abstract. We put out an album called "We Drink for Free." It was recorded at by Mark Williams, an amazing engineer at the Southern Cultural of the Skids. I don't know if you know them from North Carolina. It was their studio, the Kudzu Ranch in Mebane. Yep. Tracked a really great record called "We Drink for Free." That again,
that's the one on Abstract Music.
Yeah, but we had to bootleg it and put it out ourselves because check this out. So, Digital Ironworks, I'm going to call them out, in Long Island, mastered the record, and in doing so, somehow missed 16 errors or something. Like, they got this digital noise. They launched it, and the whole thing had to be recalled because of the error. So they were doing this push, and it completely fell apart. It was Luna Records through Abstract. We're like, what the hell, And then the band basically started falling apart again. And then, so Leadfoot was just, we had so much, like, this cloud over us somehow. Every time we tried, it just didn't work out. But we've gotten together many times since then, and we're getting together now. It's never officially completely over. And the second album lineup, Sans Phil, we got TR on bass, who was in Lie Heavy on the no longer, but we're just going to do this reunion show just for fun, man, with our friends, the Bleeding Hearts, and the girls from Wilmington, Bleeding Hearts from Raleigh, amazing rock and roll, fast rock bands, and punk edge bands. So we're doing that, and but I got Lie Heavy going, obviously, with Graham from Leadfoot, and we put out a record. Initially, put it out ourselves, and it was reissued by Heavy Psych Sounds, same label that Pentagram's on, blowing up right now. And
after 55 years, suddenly Bobby Booth was like the shit.
And the drummer for Legions of Doom / the Skull is the drummer for Pentagram. So now we're like, well, we're never going to see him again. So our friend Chad, all of a sudden
it's like excuse me, it's like when they put out the movie This Is Anvil. All of a sudden, Anvil's back on the map, and it's just all of a sudden, like, Anvil, what?
I know, right? I mean, that movie, God, I teared up when I watched that thing. But
it was done well. Smart film.
So the current project I have that's based in Raleigh, North Carolina, is Lie Heavy. Yeah, that is we've written basically written the second album already. We're just refining everything. That's the band that Graham's in the band with you. Graham's in the band, and JD on drums, and our friend Carrie Rawls joined the band on bass. And both Carrie and Graham used to be in this amazing band called Confessor. That was a well-known, super heavy band that if you know them, you love them. They incredible band, Confessor. They're still technically around as well. Please, if you check out Lie Heavy, the last time was Burn to the Moon. And that's available. Heavy Psych Sounds, you can get that, and
and this
go
is
to our Bandcamp.
This is off Bandcamp. Lie Heavy will steer everyone. If you want to check it out, go to Bandcamp and look it up.
The T-shirt, whatever, man. No, and there's definitely some cool vinyl out, as you can see. But the next album's going to be recorded this year. It's going to happen, and we'll see how it goes, man. We're looking forward to it. And at the same time, cool. I'm doing the thing full time with Legions of Doom / The Skull, and that album came out on TP Records last September.
Right.
And that's and I just played a show with the band, the Straight Skull set. Basically, we're just doing the Skull material. But Legions is when we bring in Scott Riegers from SS. He was signed to SST with the original version of Saint Vitus. Back in the day.
Didn't I see Scott in Fu Manchu? Was he in Fu Manchu?
Scott, that was Scott Reeder.
Huh?
Yeah, different.
I think Fu Manchu was Scott Reeder, who was in Caius.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not the same guy. Yeah.
It's not different guy. Okay, I got confused. Right.
I tell you. I don't know if you could get Scott Riegers on. He was signed to SST, and that was a band that was misunderstood and signed to a punk rock label.
You talk about Saint Vitus.
Yeah, the original, the thing.
Sure.
They started in '79. Him.
Yeah.
And just amazing stories there. You should have that guy on. Unbelievable stuff he's seen and been a part of.
Right on.
And I also wanted to give a quick. Go ahead. Nope.
No. Finish up, because then I'm going to take a quick sponsor break, and we're going to come back and take questions from around the world. So go ahead, finish what you're saying.
No, and I just wanted to shout out to somebody who was in the a part of my life back then is the almighty, amazing Naomi Peterson, and Chris Peterson still champion her brother still as her work out there. And I tell you what, she documented the whole early DC hardcore scene, and then the SST, the California scene, and actually was out with us for a week on that COC DRI tour, taking pictures and stuff. But anytime I mention SST, I always automatically think of her, man. Sure. And all her amazing work out there, of like some of the best photographs you've ever seen captured of all those scenes.
Right on.
Back in the day.
For sure. Let's take a quick break. You got a minute or two, and I'll see you in a second, Carl.
Awesome.
Joel?
Yep.
Get ready. Let me take a quick break, and we'll go into the weeds a little bit, and see you in a second.
All right, man.
Whoop! Whoop, there it is. This is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, often imitated, never duplicated. Try as they may. We're sponsored by blah, 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 and Mad Vintage. Mad Vintage buys, sells, and collects band shirts, primarily hardcore. The DIY operation was started and is operated by a hardcore kid who just loves collecting and eventually got into vintage clothing, specifically the realm of vintage band shirts. They are always looking to buy out collections to either keep, sell, or trade. New shirts added daily at www.madvintage.com and posted on Instagram. Dig deep into that closet of crap and reach out to them. Help me help you, Mad Vintage. Last but not least, come on now, Joe Romini. The Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers Greg Rowley, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. Information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.texassilverrush.com. Just want to say, any questions you have, it's question time. Post them up. Go deep. Get weird. Want to mention a bunch of events that are coming up that we are a part of. Sunday, March 16th, free all ages Sunday matinee at Berlin. DJ Cindy Halfrats, formerly of the Lunachicks, Hub City Stompers, Rebelmatic, Ancient Domains, DIYing Braid, and Ill Raised. It is a co-promotion with Authentic Productions. Lace them up. Come on down. See you then. ID's playing Jersey. The American Legion post 434 in Englishtown, New Jersey with our friends Sworn Enemy, Silence Equals Death, Robots and Monsters, and Redwoods. Friday, April 11th at Pugs, which is now under new management. We are playing with Enraged, Cropsy, ID, and Tear Gas. And then 2 days later, the big banger at the back at our home at the Bowery Electric, Conservative Military Image, ID, American Eagle, Murderers Row, and Faded Line. Hegs is bringing you Rampage Fest 7 on Sunday, May 4th at the Bowery Electric. Free all ages Sunday matinee. Lots of bands headlined by Sworn Enemy. Patrons. Patrons, can you hear me now? We're going out on the cinematic music and film tour. We do it a couple times a year. Saturday, May 10th. If you are a patron, which you should be, it's the best way to support the show. Come on, it's free. If it's free, it's for me. All you patrons, please, if you want to come out, just drop me a line. Everybody's welcome. You can bring somebody. There's the Patreon address. Please, it's the best way to support the show. There's also a super chat function. If you have a question and want to part with a couple of bucks, do the super chat function here. Ask the question. It'll come through in color. I cannot miss it. In our beloved Tompkins Square Park, Saturday, May 24th, Non-Residents, Butterbrain, Fires, Murder, End of Hope, and Sonic Bomb. I will not be here because I will be playing punk rock bowling with ID. The show is sold out. 7 Seconds, Negative Approach, Effigy, Stalag 13, and NID. Also, they just announced this today. I am hosting a tour at the Punk Rock Museum on the 25th. Come on down. It's going to be great. Randall Underwood, photographer, is going to be along with us, as well as Tristan from Incendiary Device. If you are in Vegas for the Punk Rock Bowling, I will be hosting this tour and would love to have you. That said, what else? Oh, listen? We'll get into all that some other time, but that's what's happening. Want to remind you to join Instagram at Stone Films NYC. Don't be shy. Let it fly. That said, let's clear the deck. Post your comments, your questions. Excuse me. It's question time. Go deep, get weird. Of course, our guest is Karl Agell. Anything you got? Hey, Joel.
Hey, I got a couple for him, actually.
Okay. Let's bring Karl back. Karl, we'll put you on the hot seat. Joe, why don't you start with something?
Hey, man. Just wanted to put kind of a postscript to the COC story. And the fact that you and Reed actually reunited years later.
Sure.
Called COC Blind. We were kind of walking the songs around again from that album.
Yeah.
What was that all about? And was that kind of cool with the main COC machinery at that time to have this other thing going on?
I think they just couldn't really do anything about it because Reed, being kind of the one of the founding members, decided he reached out to me. So we, the breakup, so to speak, or me parting ways, being asked to leave, was difficult and not a fun time and all that. But I think it was about 8 years later, after it all went down, he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm sorry and all that stuff. And we ended up working things out and got together. And I think what triggered it was I did a thing at the Lincoln Theater in Raleigh called Karl Agell's Blind, like a play on Karl Agell's Blind, and just did a one-off show with some good friends jumping in, and the show went really, really well. And I think he got wind of it and was like, "Oh, this is a viable thing," Also, when our friend a good friend Ivan from Confessor died, there was a huge tribute because of the medical bills that were left to his wife also at the Lincoln Theater. So there was this thing where I got together with Reed for the first time, where we got together and played a couple Corrosion songs. And it helped bring in the attendance, like us actually reuniting. And we realized, okay, this is legit. We can do it. And then brought in some great people to do it with. Jerry Barrett from the DC or Northern Virginia scene. He played with HR for a while on the solo stuff. Originally Jason Browning, and then Scott Little, who plays with me in Leadfoot and Legion's Doom and the Skull. We got together and hit the road and had some of the other guitar players would rotate through, was like TR, who was on in Lie Heavy and is back in Leadfoot. And so we went out and did some dates here and there. The one kind of pinnacle was in 2015. We went out for like about a month, I guess it was, with Cavalier Conspiracy and Death Angel across the country, and that went really, really well. And that's the same year Reed was allowed, was given the full invitation to use the Foo Fighters studio. And Grohl loved Reed, worshiped Reed, and gave him carte blanche and recorded Teenage Time Killers that year.
Wow.
And and that was all. I was a guest vocalist on that. There was different people from all over doing that. We had Lee Ving on that. Jello Biafra, Randy from Lamb of God.
Wow.
Neil Fallon, like just who's who, of like different people. The dude from I can't remember. There's so many guys on that anyway. So things were looking really good with that too. It was just a kind of, and we thought things were going to launch, and then Reed had some personal problems. Obviously he's no longer with us.
Yep.
I missed the guy terribly. But things didn't work out. He had the substance abuse and stuff. I don't. In fact, his memorial finally is going to be next weekend on Saturday.
Wow.
So it took, it happened over 4 years ago. Absolutely heartbreaking and tragic. Gone way too soon. Absolutely. Just an integral part. But we tried to make a go of it on several occasions, and just, but it was that kind of seesaw thing going back and forth to the COC proper, and then doing it with me, and just a lot of stuff going on with that. But
sure.
I'm glad we did what we did. I'm really, really happy we did, and we were able to play. So that album, a lot of people didn't experience it live, because by the time it kind of kicked into gear, I was already out of the band. And, it came out in late 91, November 5th, 91, I remember. And it kind of kicked into gear, in 93, 92, 93, people started hearing about it. And 93, summer of 93, I was out. So not a lot of people got to see it live. And we decided we wanted to, let's go do this album. It's a great album. And we were able to pull it off. And he was in peak form at that time at some of these shows. And you got to witnessing this incredible drumming. The Blind album is where he was just doing some insane stuff that's just very difficult to replicate for other drummers.
I got one for you that ties in with this a little bit. Paul Stone asks, any recollections on the tracks that didn't make it to Blind? There was a couple that got demoed but weren't recorded. Fingers with Teeth and a couple more, I think.
Yeah,
I think that's a deep dive right there, huh?
Yeah, and there was also like a version of, I think, a Future Now, the MC5 song, and a couple of those little weird tracks. In fact, that's funny. There was this one song where I'm actually kind of just grabbed a saxophone and making a bunch of noise, and that didn't make it on either. And I think some of these things have been put out after that, or attached to some of these re-releases and stuff like that. Sure. I should know, but So yeah, there were some like couple tracks there that just didn't make it, and it was really important for us to make. We were really, back in the day, into albums. It wasn't singles, right?
Yeah.
So an album was like a piece of work. The way we grew up, I did, and I'm sure you guys and a lot of people did, is like you wanted an album to have a narrative, to make sense, like the trajectory of the songs, and at least it was important to us. So we spent a lot of time figuring out the song sequence and what was where and why, side, and back it was the A side, the B side, that kind of thing, and making them both strong, both work. And I think what it was too, we reached that point of it would be too much material and it just didn't work with the flow, So, or they just didn't, they weren't up to snuff, like the other ones. So
makes sense. Pat Baldwin asks, did any COC songs turn into Leadfoot songs?
Well, interestingly enough, no, what happened was lyrics and vocal melodies that I'd written for what became the Deliverance album became Leadfoot songs. So the song, there was "Bring It On" was a song title. The first Leadfoot album title song was actually was going to be a track on Deliverance. So was a song called "Waiting," which was never released, and which was "Waiting," but was actually became what "Cleanse My Wounds" or "Clean My Wounds," whatever. And there's a couple other tracks too. "Soulful of Lies" on the first Leadfoot album. That was actually the vocals to what was the other big single off of that Deliverance album. So Albatross was Albatross. The lyrics that were actually called "Soulful of Lies," and there's some stuff that was borrowed by Pepper, but whatever, But it is what it is. But it is that was a long time ago.
Yeah,
and it is what it is, and shit happens. And we're not the only band that had weird things and lineup changes, right? There's just that band and COC also had been in different iterations all the time. Eric Ike, Eye for an Eye, and then Mike and Reed splitting vocal duties as a 3-piece on Animosity, and then Simon Bob on Technocracy. So that band, people have certain favorite versions, and I respect that. But it was always a very interesting rotation going through. There was always something morphing and happening behind the scenes. For better, for worse, or whatever, however you see it. It just was what it was. That kind of energy, I guess.
It was a band that was always sort of developing and changing,
figuring it out.
Yeah. Whereas some bands are like, "This is what we do."
Right.
What's the new Slayer record going to sound like? It's going to sound like Slayer.
Exactly.
That's it. Tracy Corbett asks, what was your experiences playing snookers and other venues in Raleigh, North Carolina?
Well, so in Raleigh, there was me finding my way post COC. And people realizing, wait, he's no longer part of the equation. Loose cannon that quickly became Leadfoot. There's a great, vibrant music scene in that whole area, and Snookers is one of the places that would book us, and a lot of other bands that were coming through, and the original Poorhouse, just there's a lot of great venues in town. I mean, I gotta say that area we're very fortunate that there's just a really, really strong club scene, across that area. And with, like I said, a combination of great local bands and nationals coming through. And it just always kept things going. And Snookers is one of the places that was like a pool hall, actually. But they ended up booking shows and having people that made that happen there and used that space and got an agreement with the owners to do it. So it's super cool, And, of course, the brewery was one of the locations that's very, very important to the scene. RIP, the brewery, just like CB's. It was the kind of the CB's of Raleigh, Everybody came through there.
Right.
Leadfoot, we used to sell that place out, and our crowd was crazy. They had to order extra beer, and stuff for our shows. The crowds would get so insane, like so crazy. And always at last call, there was a adjoining bar called the Comet, and they connected. The Comet served liquor, right? But was But so everybody at last call, all of a sudden this packed house that was going insane of shit-faced people. You were like, where did everybody go? We would play at like 2 a.m. to closing time. And all of a sudden, they'd all surge back in even drunker, going bananas, like that crowd was nuts. No, that was one of the I love that place. There was a lot of other cool venues too.
That's awesome.
But, yeah, man.
Joel, you got anything you want to insert, or should I keep on sorting here? You got anything? You got anything in the file?
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to our buddy Dan Lorenzo.
Oh, of course.
Black, which is his project with Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative and Danzig. And Carl, I know you've been a participant in that project. I've known Dan forever, so I want to make sure Patriarchs in Black gets a little.
No, of course. I'd be completely remiss. In fact, it's the most recent thing I've tracked is for, I believe my song is going to be the first single. And it's JD from Black Label Society on bass on this one. It's always Johnny Kelly and always Dan Lorenzo. They're the core of Patriarchs in Black, right? This is going to be the 4th album coming out. I've been very fortunate to be invited to be on every record. The first album, I did like 3.5 songs. The half song was me doing a duet. And then I've been on all the albums. So they always ask me to come back, which is really great and an honor. He's the riff master. Dan churns them out, and with a drummer like Johnny Kelly, who's just next level. It's just awesome. And there's been a various different bassists that have come in. So I've just been really fortunate. It's been a project that's going on in the background. He used to play in, Hades and Nonfiction and, and Cassius Clay and other projects too. And we ran into each other doing this festival in Connecticut, and Leadfoot was booked. There was a reunion thing years back. I think it was 2018 or something. And he was playing too with his band. And he's like, dude, do you remember when we had you up on stage, singing Sweet Leaf, when you were in COC? And then we realized you were no longer in COC. You just parted ways, with the band. It was just funny. And then we just stayed in touch. And then he's like, dude, you want to do some stuff? And I was like, I'd be honored, cool, let's do it. So
that's one.
Yeah, that album's coming out. That is this coming year. And the single, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to come out, but it's called The Call. And it'll be
that is one of the few kind of cool things in the internet age, is that those a lot of people hook up with each other, and it's not so much like we all have to go into a recording studio at the same time, the same place. Right. And that's one thing the technology has enabled. There's a lot of really cool combinations of people working together.
Dave from Dog Eat Dog is on bass.
Dave, yes, yeah.
Dave Niebuhr, that's right. You mentioned that. Dave, another Jersey guy, Dave Niebuhr.
Thank you, Dave, man.
Dave Niebuhr, who used to work at Sam Ash Paramus until it closed.
There you go.
Yeah.
No, man, it's been cool. Like, and I've been after. It's not going to happen, but I've been after Dan to book a show. Like, we did one Teenage Time Killers show in LA and had a bunch of the singers. The album, it was a whole night. It was sold out at the Fonda Theater in Hollywood.
Wow.
And I'm telling him, I know you're not into touring anymore and you're doing your thing. And I love that you're doing what you're doing. But I was like, I would love it. Couldn't we just do one kind of festival night where you bring in and figure out a set and just have us all rotate through? It'd just be fun. But he's, I don't know. I don't know if anybody come to that. Like, dude, people will come to that, man. But I'm putting you on the spot, Dan.
There you go. Absolutely.
No, it's awesome.
John in London asks, it's legit. Was the Blind record sound natural, or was it a push to sound more metallic and rocky? Was it a natural thing, or was there like some label A&R presence a little bit?
No. Completely organic and natural in the sense that we realized coming out of the punk scene that, hey, it's okay to admit that not only do I love Black Flag, I also love Black Sabbath. Now that's a given now, right? But early days, it was like, no, you don't do that, right? You wore the uniform. So the whole crossover thing was, for us, it's like, let's just do what we want to do. And we love Thin Lizzy and Deep Purple and The Sweet and Slade, but we also love the Bad Brains and Black Flag and, whatever. It didn't matter. We should just like, let's just see what happens and throw this together. It was really organic, actually. And just like, check this riff out and check this out. And I'm like, and, oh yeah, it feels like this band, and we just kind of threw it together, and it's a little, that album's a little bit all over the place, but it works, in my opinion, it works. It just us figuring out and saying to hell with the rules, we're allowed to do what we want, we don't care. And we were fortunate, there was no pressure at all from Relativity or anybody outside influence to say for us to do it. And obviously the band took a chance and lost some of the real purist hardcore fans. Sure. I get that.
Sure.
But it's also that band could never stay in the same place. It was always morphing and moving on. And that was part of the evolution. I brought in my newfound influences, but we shared the same roots. We all came out of the punk rock scene,
Yeah, that makes sense. And Joseph asks, the lyrics on Blind were obviously carefully crafted. Were those written in collaboration?
Yes, yes, they were. Some were. They're Pepper Keenan and myself shared a lot of their credits on some songs. Some are all me. A couple are all him. With maybe me throwing in like I wrote dude, let's do this for the pre-chorus. He needs something here, and it was like my 4 lines there and his there and the 6 in a row, and just making them work. Phil Swisher actually wrote the lyrics to Great Purification.
Wow.
So he wrote that one. So it was collaboration for sure.
Yeah. And Devo says White Noise off the Blind album, friggin' great song, ahead of its time.
Yeah, fuck racism, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of sorry. Still feel that way.
There you go. Hey, was King Hitter just the EP?
We wanted it to be more, and that EP, I'm really proud of it. King Hitter was some of us from Leadfoot, as in me and Scott Little jumping in to do that and trying to make that work. And it just, there was lineup changes and there was some people doing bad things to themselves, you know, like, and then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm too old for this shit. I can't put up with turmoil. Like, I'm the old days maybe, but now it's, you know, so we try to make a go of it. And there was a lot of other great songs that didn't make it. And then maybe that we'd find a way to put them out there, you know, if there's enough interest or on some kind of sampler or something, or I don't know, or just some streaming thing we could just, people want to listen to it. But yeah, it was just a moment that was really cool. I'm really proud of that moment. And it was well received, but a lot of the just went off the rails, the energy, you know, like, and the lineup changes, it just couldn't sustain itself. You know?
Like you said, as we get older, it gets harder to hold it together when those sort of elements are swirling in the peripheral. I certainly understand, you know. No,
we get older, and that's part of growing. It's like, you know, enough of the drama. You know, I like a certain keep it on track. You know, within reason. You know,
within reason. Right.
Within reason. I'm not that stuck up or controlling, but you know, I don't have time for this. If you want to do that, you know.
Yeah. Joel, as we head down the home stretch here, got anything else in the folder, Joel?
Man, I think we hit a lot, man. There's a lot of bands in here.
We did.
You know?
We did.
It's great. Glad King got in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me close with this. I mean, obviously, you've been at this a long time. As far as musical concerns, what do you feel you have left to do musically? What are some things you'd like to see happen in the future for you?
Well, you know what? For me, the happiest place for me, where, I mean, there's a lot of things that make me very happy, but in terms of feeling transcendent and like in you know, a part of the universe and just the pure joy of it is when I'm singing and whether it's recording or live, it puts me in a place that, you know, makes me feel really good. And as long as I am able, I would like to keep playing music. And I've taken some breaks in it, but right now it seems to be like it's happening. So I'm going to roll with it. And everything old is new again. And the other night we were out after practice, and I had some 20-something-year-old kids come up to me and said, "You're so-and-so, you're Karl, and like, can I get a picture with you?" And it was what was so cool. There was this, I think it's come full circle around instead of like, "Hey, fuck you, old man," kind of stuff. You know, like, these guys are washed up. There's a lot of respect, intergenerational respect now, and that enables us old guys to keep going forward because there's actually younger people coming to the show, and trust me, I'm happy to see fellow old timers like me out there come and support.
Sure.
But it's also cool so the reason I'm saying is it's just somehow it's working right now. And as for as long as it works and people care and people of any age want to get into it and support it, you know, I'm going to do it, you know, as long as I can open my mouth and sing, and I'm surrounded, and my life is so much easier because of my friends and my family, you know, just ultra supportive wife, you know, ultra support, you know, like, and my work putting up with me. We'll see how much longer. We'll see how much longer the day job puts up with me. No, right. But no, you know, so I've tried to make it create a world where it works, you know, and as long as it works, I'm going to try. You know, that's it. Pretty simple.
Is there, you know, you mentioned the day job and stuff, and you know, kind of went through this thing fairly recently. Well, not fairly recently, but you know, it seems like when we got back together a bunch of years ago, and I was still an Antidote, it was really way more enjoyable because at that point, for the most part, everybody had like a life and a job and was making some money, and the music thing was, we were doing it because it was sort of a hobby and because we loved it, which was the same reason we started doing it to begin with, back in the Anthrax days and the CBGB's days. And I find that like now, you know, being in Incendiary Device with the guys that like have a job, have a life, have a wife, have a family, and are doing this really because they love it, not because we got to get the record deal and we got to get, it actually really creates a space for really a great creative space and a place to really, I really enjoy being in a band at this point again,
It's the best feeling, man. The camaraderie of, of whoever you're in a band with and anybody out there on whatever level you're doing it. You don't have to be the best as long as you're having fun and you're doing it. You mean it. You care. That's my advice to anybody, it's this if it's the happiest place,
Yeah. Good
and it's
stuff.
not like anybody, we're not exactly drowning in royalties from streaming. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Right.
Sorry, I got to go to the mailbox and pick up another gold bar they sent me. It's just
right.
It's you got to be in it for the love of it. And I'm very happy for my friends who've made a real success of it and had the thing work out. And that's awesome. But if that's all it is, then it's going to be rough for you. You got to do it because you love it. And we all love it. We love it.
Yeah. Elizabeth Chase says, love you, Carl. You're truly one of a kind. Thanks, guys, for featuring Carl today. Of course, it's what we do. Looking forward to becoming more acquainted with your show. Well, thanks, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth is a good friend of mine.
Oh, yeah?
I love her to death. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Yeah. We're here, Elizabeth. This is what we do. Is there anybody you want to thank, Carl? Is there anybody you want to shout out?
You know what? Obviously, my mom, for being the superstar, being the single mom, a tough deal. She would come to all the shows. My beautiful Swedish mother would come, and she saw me at CB's, the Continental. She saw me at Pub Anchor. She saw me, in Stockholm. If she was around, she would go, man. And everyone loves their mom, I hope. But I've been very fortunate, and just to be surrounded by great musicians and cool people. The list would be too long, I can sit here and if I start, I'm going to miss somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just I've had wonderful friends and family and people that have my back. And there's been some tough lessons along the way and some huge screw ups. And then people have helped me get back up and do it again. And the fact that the shout outs really to all the people out there right now that seem to care and want to know what I'm doing. Not only from my past, but what's current, the Lie Heavy, the Skull, Legions of Doom, Patriarchs in Black, and various projects out there. So I appreciate it, man. That's the reason to keep going right there. Thank you.
Carl, I'm glad we hung in there. I'm glad we rescheduled. I really enjoyed it. And
thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me, man. I'm honored. I'm honored to be a part of it. No, I really thank you, Drew. Thank you very much, Joel. All of you out there, man. Seriously, this has been awesome. It's been like my favorite thing I've done in a long time. So thank you.
And our good friend Scott Helen, great stories, amazing history, music. Thanks, Carl and Drew and Joel. So that said, thanks, Carl. Let's keep in touch. I hope to see you here in New York or when we're down your way, and we'll.
Oh yeah, man. Awesome. Thank you. Take
care.
Take care, man.
Woo! All right.
There you
That
go.
was great. That was great, man. That
Yeah.
was great.
I knew he'd be a great guest.
Nice guy.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, that's right, Joseph. A very gracious. We do a lot of shows, and there's a special breed of guest that comes on, and I think the key word is gracious. And like Dave Lombardo was incredibly gracious. Carl was incredibly gracious. Thank you, Cliff. I appreciate it. Hey, Coletti, thank you so much for being a part of it, man. I really appreciate it. You really helped it along with all the Seizure stuff. And Paul Stone across the pond, thank you so much. I just while you're still here, I gotta mention just for my guys that are watching the show. The Tompkins Square Park show on May 24th with non-residents, Butterbrain, Fires Murder, and a Hope and Sonic Bomb. We need help in the park. So if anybody out there is in New York and can help, it's a call to arms. Reach out to me or to Larry Kelly or to Ray Hogan. We need help getting the stage out of the storage basement a couple blocks from the park, setting it up, dealing with it. These shows, the show in the park is free, but really, come on. Free is a state of mind. it costs money to do these shows, and we need manpower. We need some help. I'm not going to be in the park that day. Like I said, I'll be in Vegas playing punk rock bowling. It's Larry Kelly and Ray Hogan's baby. So please, if anybody can help in the park, reach out. So there you go. Is that right, Vinny? Every guest you have is always humble and gracious. I don't know about that, but some yes. How about this? Yes, they are, but some are incredibly humble and gracious. So that's is that right? Feeling warm after that one. Good. Well, that's good. Is that right? Yo, come to Vegas, brah. Alex Mitchell, come to Vegas, bro. Circus. It's gonna be a circus in Vegas. Whew. God. You ever been to Vegas? Have you ever been to Vegas, Joe?
God, yeah. I've been to Vegas maybe 35, 40 times. I used to run a poker newspaper back about 20 years ago in LA. So I would have to drive out there through Barstow and all that to cover the World Series of Poker. So I was out there a lot, man. And then I used to do auto conferences out there. I mean, I know Vegas better than I know my backyard.
I haven't been to Vegas. Vegas was never really my spot. A couple times on tour, came through. But this is I'm out there for 5 days, man. We're playing. I'm doing the tour. I got a bunch of other things. We're doing it up. We're doing it up. We're going to be out there and we're going to go see bands, and we're going to see. It's going to be fun. I'm looking. It's like, I don't want to call it a vacation, but it's going to be a good time.
I haven't been out to Vegas since 2019, so pre-pandemic. Right. So I'm sure it's changed in some way. I'm sure the spots I would go to may or may not be there now. But it's an interesting city, man. It's like walking into a pinball machine.
Good line, Pat Baldwin. We were on the edge of the desert when the drugs took hold. Good one. Fear and Loathing. Yeah. I think the thing about punk rock bowling is it's all sort of centrally located in downtown Vegas. So who just said use Ubers? Yeah, we're going to use an Uber from the airport to the hotel, but that's it. And you don't have to travel much once you're in. It's all, I think the hotel's like walk a couple blocks from where we're playing, which is a couple blocks from, where they're doing the whole thing. So it'll be good. It'll be good.
Here's a word of advice for anybody who's in LA, who's driving out punk rock bowling, who doesn't know the deal. Gas up before you leave Vegas and gas up when you head out, because otherwise you're going to die out there. Because it's like 200 miles where there's fucking nothing.
Yeah.
So if you're leaving at midnight with half a tank of gas, the vultures are going to love you. That's all they're going to have left, because you're going to be fucked. So make sure you gas up.
Yeah. Is that right? Is that right, Carl? You got maybe a punk rock bowling show? Is that right? Oh, whoa. Listen, we're going to pull him back in. We're pulling him back in. Is that right?
So yeah, I'm still here, man. So I'm really good friends with Rob, man. Rob Rushing, man, who is Punk Rock Saves Lives, just the salt of the earth, best guy in the world. And he puts on the Hogs and Heifers club gigs across from the Grand. And I've gone many years in a row, and I love punk rock bowling. It's awesome. But I'm going either way, right? I'm going anyways.
Right.
And he's like, dude, if you're out here, maybe I can get, Lie Heavy to play Hogs and Heifers. I'd love to have you, because, your roots, and also the fact that you straddle, if you listen to that album, Bird of the Moon, there are songs on there that are definitely like, in the hardcore field, like Diabolic and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So we don't care. Like we did shows with with Sab from Iron Cross just last year with his new band Starcar, and they're awesome. Starcar is awesome. So I'm just saying, like, I'm lucky that I straddle the scenes, and to me, it's just rock. It's just music, man. It's just rock and roll anyways. Right. So, just bring it, so I think we're going to get booked. I'm hoping Sunday night. It's not 100% guaranteed. I'm just trying to work it out, because I'm going to be there anyways. but it's about figuring out if the guys can afford to come out. You know, the other guys that don't normally go to punk rock bowling. You know,
That's that. Just let me know, man. You know, we're I'm doing the whole thing.
I'm gonna see you open up for 7 seconds, right?
Hell yeah.
I'll be there.
Yo,
already got tickets. I got tickets.
We're setting it off, bro. We're the first band. We're to play on the Thursday night. We're doing the Ramones set, which is the like boom 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 boom. You know, like you got a half hour. You know, and we're just gonna go bam 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 bam.
Wow. That's awesome, man. No, I can't wait. And look, and I don't know if you've been to the Punk Rock Museum yet, but
I haven't. Nope.
It's so awesome. It's so cool. I got emotional walking through there. In fact, that pictures of me at CB's, you know, from that matinee book.
Yeah.
I walked in and I was like, wait, that's me. We had a couple pics of me and then on the backside of my leather jacket, you know, and I walked around and I saw like, oh, look, there's a slap shot, you know, that slap shot leather jacket hanging on this mannequin. I'm like, and I texted Hank Pierce, you know, I was like, hey, man, you know, I was like, dude, because it said, you know, loaned by Hank Pierce. It's like, yeah, oh my God, you know. So we've been talking about Scott Little, who plays in Leadfoot and also in Legions / The Skull. He has Reed Mullins' drum set, his old red Tama kit. Wow. And we're trying to convince him that we're going to drive it out and set it up and have it on display there, you know, on loan for, you know, however long. But I just feel like people need to see it. It's just so moving to walk through and see all these cool setups, man. You know, see, you know, like they replicated old practice spaces and you know, like it's awesome. It's
We're going in the morning of to do a couple songs in that no effects room, they call it.
Right.
Yeah. The practice room. They're going to broadcast it out the morning that we're playing that show. So,
awesome, man. No, that's a very, very cool thing, man.
Very cool. All right, Carl. Thanks again, man. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for ringing back. See you there. See you back.
Yeah. Well, that was awesome, man.
That's awesome.
Anybody you want to shout out? Anybody you want to thank?
We gotta say it. Rest in peace, David Johansen. Rest in peace, Brian James. And closer to our thing, rest in peace to the great Aaron Rossi.
Yeah.
Got some heavy losses lately, man. So just be good to each other out there, and don't swallow the corporate rage bait that they keep shoving down our throats, man, and do things more like this, you know. Celebrate people, celebrate history, celebrate the arts, because people are dropping like fucking flies.
Yeah, that was a 1, 2, 3, boom, boom, boom. You know. Yeah. So all right, well, good to have you, and let's think about what we can do together next. You know, I mean,
do we want to say it or not?
Yeah. Go ahead. It's fine.
All right. You guys are still sticking around. I can say this. Drum roll. Coming up, the New York Hardcore Chronicles, Wednesday, April 30th. Des Cadena.
There you go.
You're first, folks. More on that.
Yeah. We're gonna have Des on, and we're gonna talk about all kinds of stuff. That guy's been in a lot of bands and has done a lot of stuff, you know.
Yeah, so it'll be Des Cadena and Mr. Bob Lee. They're bandmates. Great project with Paul Rossler, who's been on the show.
Yep.
So we're going to get into that and all kinds of stuff. And Des is an amazing storyteller. So mark that down, April 30th.
Fantastic. All right, Joel, I will talk to you soon, man.
You got it, man. Take care.
All right, take care. Woo! There you go. What a show. Fantastic. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. So this is the longest show we've done in a long time. Right? Long show. Almost 3 hours. You know? Hope you know. It was for all the people tuning in late from Europe. We gave them thanks, Vinny, and I hope you're well, buddy. I see you on Instagram, and I hope your health is getting better, and I hope you're okay, man. Any members of Dark Angel been on the show? No, not yet. Haven't got to that one yet. So there you go. But we will see you right. I'm going to get some sleep and start setting up the next show. Co-hosted by Lori Dorn from Women of the Pit. Dina Douglas will be on the show this Wednesday. So we will be back here very, very, very soon. So that's right. I have a Wednesday show. Dina Douglas. And then Right. And then a week after that is Kurt from DRI. That is correct. So thanks a lot, everybody. Thanks for supporting the show. I'm very grateful. I'm a lucky motherfucker. So take care until next we meet. Do good things, and good things will come to you.
Conditioned by indoctrination, conditioned by society. You're a victim of the digital age, a 21st